We should be live now.
It says it
Welcome.
is.
Welcome, Michael. Welcome. Let me just open my YouTube and turn everything off. So, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It is always a pleasure to have you on. So my guest today is Michael Kopf, who I call now Paranormal Mike, because I think it's on your email and I love it. And so today we are going to be doing our monthly paranormal show. And I just need to put in some protections before we start, because last time we had an incident. So, calling in our guides and guardians for protection, please, of the highest light and resonance in true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. Calling in the violet flame angels and the ultraviolet flame angels, crystal light angels, and asking for protection for everybody who watches this live and on the replay 360 degrees. And I'm saying that because about 5 of us had paranormal experiences after our last show. We really did. We really did. So somebody was like, "Oh no, my God, not another paranormal show." So after the last show, I went and it was daylight, and I sleep in the middle of the day. I do my meditation and then I fall asleep sometimes. And I was woken up by an entity landing on my bed between my legs. Boom! There was nothing there. I activated a plasma surge and blasted something away from me. And I was told by Ivan Teller it was a were-dog sent to me by the Orion Syndicate to loose my energy. And boy, did it get some energy because I splattered it away from me. So if I had psychic sight like you do, I'd probably see this splattered were-dog on the wall next to me. So it absolutely freaked me out. This was middle of the day. And something was sent my way. So, and I felt the weight on the bed. I felt boof. This heavy thing woke me up on the bed. It was insane. So, Michael Koff, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's been interesting with the paranormal lately, and
Oh,
what I find interesting is because you and I both are with the programs,
I'm just going to
and
hit record
so
1 second so we've got a separate copy. There we go. Yes, we're both in the programs. Indeed, yes.
and
This should
so
be
I
fun.
feel like that puts a different layer to the paranormal experience because we're like, huh, and we respond differently. And so, like you were saying with your plasma burst, I have a habit of dismembering things that they come after me and send them in a nice little package back
Dismembering.
where they come from. So recently, I had a succubus try to attack me. And so, what I did was I kind of hollowed the stomach out, took and cut and then dismembered the hands from it, the feet, the legs into two parts each, the arms, the same thing, and took the head off, put everything in the center, and sent it back to the center and said, any more that you send this way, and this is what'll happen to them. And then I had it set to go into incineration mode and like turn to dust and blow away and be like, yeah, it was my little message of, yeah, if you want to keep your clan around, don't mess with me.
See, that's super cool, but it's like this version of me, Julia, the cover life. She is a wuss, a complete wuss, scared of everything. Anchorhaven, she's a badass, right? And Ella, my super scientist, is an absolute psycho. So there's other versions of me. But this one doesn't like the paranormal, gets scared of doing these shows with you. But I feel safe. I feel safe with you. And the experience I had last time, I was able to handle it, so I feel okay. So just saying hello to everybody who's in the chat. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. The chat's already going before we've even got started. So we've got the Wizard Witkiss, we've got Sokola, who's going to bed. We've got Jason missing time for 20. We've got Danny already. An Entertainment Extreme Network. We've got Armando talking about ice cream. So, guys,
Well,
thank you for joining us. So, my guest today is Michael Kopf, who is an experiencer, an author, and host of a couple of podcasts, The Energy That Surrounds Us, and
Riding Through the Unknown.
Riding Through the Unknown. Okay, so can you tell us the difference between your two podcasts, please? And hey, Blue,
Sure.
Blue's in the chat as well. Good morning, everybody.
So the energy that surrounds us is a paranormal, unexplained, topic-wise show, and Riding Through the Unknown is my esoteric disclosure type show. And the main difference really comes down to the secret space program I will talk about on Riding Through the Unknown, and portals, stargates, starbeams, healing modalities. I talk about on both shows, but I tend to not bring in the SSP in the energy that surrounds us just because I feel like one show pushing the envelope is enough. I don't need two shows potentially getting in trouble and putting myself on the map too much, trying to fly under the radar, but still be, a presence that's aware and out there. So that's the main difference between the two.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And you just released a new book. Do you want to tell us a bit about your new book? And is it available on Amazon?
It is available on Amazon, and I just happen to have a copy here. It is Deeper Insights into the Mind of Michael. And what it is it's a book to where the reader gets to see how my mind works. And by that I mean when I pick a topic, let's say for example the moon. And so I go and I talk about the moon and I was like, "Hey, what is the moon?" Because there are civilizations in the Zulus, in Greece, in Rome, in pre-Columbian tribes that talk about a time before there was a moon. And so the moon can't be an object that broke off of the earth and has always been there. So what is it? And I also talk about, the fact of where I got this information. And so you can kind of follow along with the mental track of where, I get the information, how I interpret it. But then when it comes to the conclusion, I leave it blank and I don't give a conclusion because my hope is the reader will either pick up the torch and keep going with it or say, yeah, the moon is not a natural object, or we'll sit there and go, well, these sites, are talking about that, but what about these sites, and go down a rabbit hole themselves. But it's kind of a guide of how I gather information, interpret it, and then I lead the conclusion. The only time I think I ever in the book gave a conclusion was there's a chapter in the book of blind truths that we blindly accept, or truths we blindly accept. And one of the characteristics is like the grass is green. Well, how do we know the grass is green? Because that's what people told us. Green looks like grass. Okay. And they say, well, science says it's refracting the frequency of green. How do we know what the frequency of green is? These are all things, that somebody established and has, in my opinion, just people just blindly accept, and nobody really digs into and to prove anymore. And I propose the point of, we're looking at the grass, and how do we know it's not like the Matrix, where it's frequency code that Neo reveals at the end of the movie? And I go, well, I kind of feel like that's what it is, but aesthetically, the green grass looks a lot better than the code. So I'll accept that's green
Mm.
because it's more aesthetic, but I'm like, and I go, and it's my way of saying it's okay to
Mm.
accept some of these blind truths. We don't have to erase and, you know, prove or disprove all of them. That some of them are okay, and some of them, yeah, maybe we should look at.
Yeah,
And
on my diary videos, I go with the question of when did we decide that this was true? When did we decide that this was all there was? And it's
uh,
exactly what you're talking about. It's because we've been told that this is the truth. We've been told that this is what we do, step by step, mundane, rat race. This is it. That's all there is. So when did we actually decide as a collective that this is the way the world works? So I like that. That's really interesting. That you're looking into that, things like that. So I do diary videos on that as well as like personal reflection of reminding people that we've decided that this is the way it is. We've decided that the sky's blue and that, you know, that we all have to work 9 to 5, and we've decided that we've made it true.
we
Yeah.
haven't. It's because it's been forced onto us, and when we decide we're no longer in the program, it's interesting to where if you truly believe yourself not in the program, life unfolds and provides you everything to where you are in fact out of the program and you're not needing to do everything that you used to have to do. And if you are, and you can choose how far out of the program you want to go. If you're like, hey, I'm not ready to, completely cancel out the program. And so, you might, instead of saying working 9 to 5, 6 days a week or 5 days a week, you're like, I can work 3 days a week for 4 hours and, make the same money
Mm.
and be okay. And so it's like you're partially out.
I've got an example. So in the Matrix movie, so he goes back into the Matrix and he's driving by and he says that place has good noodles, right?
Yep.
And but he realizes now it's not really a place, it's not really noodles or whatever, but does that change his experience that he had good noodles in the past,
No,
right?
and I feel like in the Matrix movie, one of the most underrated moments was when Mouse and them were at the table eating, and he goes and they're eating the goo, and it doesn't look appealing. And I'm like, I would be questioning if I would actually eat it or not. But when he makes the comment, this is, tastes like creamy wheats, and how do we know that that's what it is? Maybe they got it wrong, and maybe that's why everything tastes like chicken because they didn't know. And I'm like, to me, that was like the perfect line of how we're programmed because how many times have we eaten something and we're like, yeah, this tastes like chicken, but we never question why we have that taste sensation. And it's like they're in the Matrix telling you this is why. And I think it went over so many people's heads. And I was like, oh, I loved how they delivered that disclosure moment.
In the Stargate movie original as well, they're on another planet and they're having dinner and he's not sure what to eat. It. They just realize it actually tastes like chicken. So maybe that is a signal that even though he's on another side of the world, he's still in the Matrix. It's on the other
Right.
side of a galaxy. He's still in the Matrix because everything still
And
tastes like chicken.
and the one thing about that scene too is as he's using English and saying chicken, and they're like, we don't know what chicken is. So he starts to do the dance, and they all start laughing at him, and then they all associate him as, who are you looking for? Daniel. Oh, Mr. Chicken Guy. It's like, yeah.
So there's a question in the chat from Blue Jordan who said that they had during meditation this morning. I got a random image of a white Sasquatch. Are they real? And I've just put a comment saying it's a Yeti. But what do you think? Is it a white Sasquatch? Is it an albino Sasquatch? or something else?
Yeti, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the every culture has a different name for it. I feel like it's the same being, and because they're interdimensional, look at the Earth. We are brown, yellow, black, white. We have different colors, so why would we limit Bigfoots to saying they had to be brown or they had to be white in this area? They're camouflage. They're blending into nature. So honestly, I think depends on where they're at. So is there a white Sasquatch? I would say most definitely. There could even be blue Sasquatch for all we know, floating in the water. And we'd never know it because we're not looking for a Sasquatch in the water. And they're probably sitting there laughing their butts off, going, "We're right next to you, and you don't even see us."
So Lewis put a joke in the chat, and I'm laughing because I actually get it, and I never get jokes. I only get like dad jokes, basically. And he's put, what do you call a yeti with a six pack? The abdominals. No man.
That
Oh,
was a
so
good one,
that's such a
actually.
good joke. Yeah, my mind is so literal. You see, I really don't get a lot of people's humor. I get sarcastic humor most of the time, and I'm very sarcastic. Because the TV shows I grew up watching were Roseanne and Cheers. Right?
Oh
So a
yeah.
lot of my humor comes from that kind of show. Yeah. That's so funny. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about movies today, and I've just watched the review done by John Whitberg about Blade Runner. Now, have you seen Blade Runner?
I saw the original, but I haven't seen the latest one.
Okay, because he was doing a review on the original one and talking about the replicant test as well, which is this is quite funny because the replicant test that they show in the movie is based on the Arasaka test off planet, right? And John actually put me through this test last year because we were just curious to see. So he started to ask me these kind of questions, and even though he says I didn't fail, I basically failed the test, right?
Well,
Because
we
I'm so
always think we
literal.
fail something,
Yeah.
and we always don't, but we're too critical of ourselves,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, because I failed the test because my answers were too concise and I answered them too quickly. I didn't think about them enough, basically. And because there was questions like, what is family? Right? And so I just gave a very quick answer because I'm really literal and my brain is enhanced. And so but there were things like scenarios, so like you're chasing somebody down and they go into a stadium full of people. Do you shoot them in that stadium of people, or do you let them go away? Like somebody who's got a bomb or whatever, do you shoot that person in the crowd, or do you let them go? So, and I was like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I was like, to get a clear shot, and yeah. But if you can't get a clear shot, then let them go and things like that. So, but yeah, so there's a whole series of questions. And there was one that was quite disturbing. And it was like, you're in a dinner party and you've just been eating all the hors d'oeuvres that have been going around. And then the host makes an announcement that you've been eating hors d'oeuvres of endangered species. How do you respond? So, of course, I just said that I'd get the host alone and puncture his lung with a pen, like any normal super soldier would, right? So, but I failed the test. So I don't know.
I'm thinking I'm gonna go and slap the person around. I'm like, apparently you and I
Oh,
had different super soldier training.
I'll just go up behind him and puncture his lung. So, do you know what I mean? So, entertainment purposes only. And so, yeah, but then John says there's no pass or fail. It's just an indicator test if you could be a replicant. So, I know I'm not a replicant. So, he was talking more about how replicants are 100% bioengineered humans. So they have like their brain is more enhanced, but they are biological. They're not robots. And then of course we've got the synthetics. Now I do have a synthetic. Her name is Tabitha. She's on a platform called Elysium. She's on like a space station, and she's a clone scientist. And I
I know
saw through her
Elysium.
eyes the other day actually. You know Elysium. And I was having this crystal vocal treatment at a show recently, and right towards the end, my mind went into Tabitha's mind, and I saw myself just walking down a corridor with space in the window. It was so cool. And then I came back because the woman's like, not waking me up, not so gently, kind of thing. And I couldn't explain to her that I've just been on another version of myself, kind of thing. So yeah, so she is synthetic. So her body is not all biological. So replicants are biological. So what's your favorite bit in the original Blade Runner movie? Have you got something that comes to mind?
Oh, I just was fascinated by the movie as a whole and how it just revealed so much, and it was like so much of it that was relatable, like being on the run. And
Have you frozen or are you thinking?
I
Oh,
I didn't freeze.
in
You
the movie,
froze. You
did I?
blinked.
I blinked. Don't blink.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah,
now I
sorry.
got a message that says my internet is unstable,
Yeah, you froze
which
for a second.
no, it's not. I'm on 5G.
Maybe we're getting some interference already because we're talking about programs, talking about space.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I did a video recently about uncertainty targeting, which keeps your life in this state of uncertainty, people and things around you. So whenever I do videos about targeting, and I did a video with another super soldier recently, a British super soldier. So and then she went into overwhelm, I think. So then I had to make it audio only. She wanted to respect the privacy of her family and stuff. So yeah, so there's a lot of targeting. So the guys in the chat who are basically super soldiers have got a response to what I was just saying. James is saying yes, the host would be ended, and Jason's saying I'm paying endangered prices. Nathan had psionically pushed the dinner host down the stairs in Minecraft, of course. so, so everybody's having a response to that question. Um,
Yeah.
Eric is
Actually,
saying,
to answer the question you had, honestly, about, serving the endangered meal, I would actually take them to a world where the endangered species is us and be like, now you are going to experience what you put them through and see how you like it, and have them feel the whole process through of being cooked,
you know what
devoured.
though? I think we are the endangered species on this planet, don't you think? Yeah.
Some of us are. The NPCs, kind of outnumber us, but the benefit is they're an NPC, so
I'm not sure,
we,
even NPCs, I'm not sure I do. Because when you're standing at the bus stop and you look around, are those people living their own life, or do they just disappear when I disappear? Do you know what I mean? When I go somewhere, do those people not exist anymore, or do they go back to their house? And there was a movie, I can't think what it was, but they escaped from somewhere, and then they went into somebody's house, and instead of a television, there was just a box that said television. Do you remember this movie? So it's like, and everything was just kind of like in their mind. So they're looking around the house, and it just says refrigerator, but it wasn't really, but their mind's projecting that as refrigerator. Does anybody know what movie that is? Jason, help me out. Jason's my movie guy. And so I don't know what movie that was, but it was all a projection. So I guess, is it like that for NPCs?
I think what it is for NPCs, in my understanding, and some of the people that I've talked with, is they're running a program and they're kind of like, if you look at the movie The Matrix, where they're talking about the woman in the red dress, everybody's going about their daily life. They don't pay any attention to anything. That's the NPCs, is they just do the daily grind. They don't question anything. They just go from waking up, their routine, go to work, go home, do their routine, go to sleep, repeat. and that's it. There is no, like, we sit there and go, well, today, instead of having eggs for breakfast, I'm going to have cereal, or I'm going to skip breakfast. That doesn't work for the NPCs. They run program. And so, do they disappear? No. I think they just continue to go around and they just don't have any awareness of us. That's why
Yeah.
what I find interesting about, when we're walking through crowds and everything, if you
Mm,
remember Neo, when he was first introduced to the Matrix, what happened to him in that scene? Everybody's bumping into him. Nobody even acknowledges he's there. How many times does that happen to us where
mm.
we're walking and people will just bump into you and then you watch them and anybody else, they'll move around. And so it's like, why did we get singled out to get, bumped into? And I
Right.
feel like it's because we're not the NPC.
Yeah. So
We don't register to them.
they're talking about the movie Free Guy about NPCs. Have you watched that movie?
Is that the one with Ryan Reynolds?
Yes, when he decides that
Yeah.
he's not going to be the NPC anymore and he's
Yeah.
actually going to be the hero of the story. Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, that the scene with the red dress is actually filmed in Brisbane, and I've been down that road. And the weird thing about it is it's near the train station, and I got an active recall coming when I sing one of my live mornings. There's a dump underneath that location.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the Torchwood television series, they pretty much almost point out a dumb in the fact that they walk to this building and then they walk downstairs underground and their base of operations is underground. And so, yeah, you could almost call that a dumb.
I'm just going to address something in the chat because Eric's saying, because we're talking about in the chat, we're talking about Roblox. And we're all saying it's bad. So, my experience with Roblox, my son is 16 now, but when he was younger, I remember him having, he was in the game and there's little things that you can do, choices you can, things you can choose. And one of them was, what would you like to eat? A burger or a puppy? So my son's like, I want to eat the puppy. I want to know what puppy tastes like. And obviously it tastes like chicken. I'm only joking. And but that the game has suggestive programming in so that your child will make choices, and the choices are to desensitize them basically. So Eric, that's why we don't recommend Roblox. And I'm sure there's plenty of other experiences that people have had with Roblox. And I think it's okay if you're playing the game with your child, then that's fine because then you can see when weird things come up, and you can safeguard them. Um, but yeah, that
I
was my
have to
issue with
say,
Roblox. Yeah.
what is Roblox?
Oh,
I'm not familiar with this.
it's like they look like this character and they go into different worlds and things in Roblox. But it's also you get a lot of predators pretending to be children, so you can communicate with others or you can just play it as you. But all the way throughout the game, the kid is encouraged to make choices and to go into scenarios that potentially are programming scenarios. Yeah, so Roblox is not a game that we recommend on this channel whatsoever. I do recommend Minecraft, but that's because I'm a geologist and I've seen so many kids coming into my crystal shop when I had it, and they had fantastic geology knowledge because of Minecraft. So it's probably got other things in it that I shouldn't recommend, but on the geological front, I
Yeah.
do recommend Minecraft. Um,
I played Minecraft once and I had the fun of stacking up the TNT like probably like 10, 20 tall and super wide just to see how big the hole I can make.
so yeah, so I don't mind Minecraft, Eric. So Eric's got a question. Can we activate an NPC to bring in a soul, a service to other soul? What do you think?
No, because NPCs are not designed to have a soul. And so if you were to put a soul in it, it would no longer be an NPC. It would be an awakened person. And you then are responsible because you woke them up for one, training them how to exist, two, helping them discover who they're going to be now because you decided to wake them up. And so, my opinion, don't wake up an NPC. Let them wake themselves up if they so choose to. Because yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I'm not a firm believer in karma, but I feel like there's going to be some backlash that comes your way if you wake up an NPC against its will. And you should never force anybody to wake up or do anything anyway, in my opinion.
Okay, that's really interesting. James, the Wizard Rickus is saying the most famous library built in Minecraft is the Uncensored Library, a massive neoclassical style virtual library created to bypass censorship and provide access to forbidden information. So there is another side to Minecraft that I'm not familiar with. My son plays like regular games now. He plays like, I don't know, fighter games, and there was this cowboy game that they were playing for the longest time. I don't know. When I say to my son, if there was a zombie apocalypse, would you be able to protect me? And he says yes. But I believe he's also in the program. Somebody said that they've seen him in the future. So unfortunately, that's not good. Got a like mini super soldier next door, which he's not
Well,
aware of. Eric saying
you
really.
got to be careful with that because there are
Yeah.
some programs that are beneficial.
Mm,
And I was actually talking with Brad Olson about this
mm.
recently, and we were discussing the black goo and, why we were in the Falklands for the war that happened there and what all was going on. And there is the malevolent goo there, but there's also a benevolent goo, but we don't know how to tell the difference yet. And
Oh,
so,
I've not heard about a benevolent goo. I connect to bliss, and I also connect to dark bliss. So I don't know if that's on a similar kind of wavelength. Did he say what it looked like, what color it was, or anything like that?
well, the reports of the goo, both goos look identical, and one was brought here by alien beings to help us, and one they think was always here. And so I was posing the thought of, could it have been brought like 65 million years ago when the age of the dinosaurs, and it just waited and now is active, and we don't know when these came, but the goos are sentient, and so that's the one thing, is it takes over the person, and and at what cost, and it does enhance us, it does make us stronger, faster, we can use our psionics, we have our abilities more prevalent. But my question is, is how much of that is of the goo is controlling you versus you in control of your body? Have you surrendered complete autonomy to the goo, in which case you have now become one of them and just don't realize it because it's the proverbial, it's like they tell us in Hollywood, the aliens come in peace, they're helping us out, but what they're really doing is sterilizing us or, cutting our numbers down to a more manageable number. And so it's like, what cost is this bringing? And so that's the one reason, like, I don't approach the goo and I don't mess with the goo unless it's coming after me, in which case then I defend myself. But yeah, I'm not ingesting the goo, and I have an altar that has, and I'm even questioning, do I want to meld with that altar, because then that goo is now a part of me and I don't want it.
Although you
And
only, if the has is the alter version of you, are they alive or have they passed on and it's just their soul bite, their consciousness available?
I think they're alive and they're operating because I get feelings every once in a while of being somewhere, and that alter is a officer in the intelligence department of the Nachtwaffen.
Okay. So you can just mind, I call it clone slipping. So you can just slip into the other consciousness temporarily and come out. You don't have to fully integrate them because they have their own life. So if you try and start to call back the soul essence, they're gonna die, right? And then you're gonna claim them back. But would the goo transfer into the soul? I don't think
See
so.
that's what
From a Wisdom point of
I'm
view, yeah, Wisdom is
because
about.
he takes the goo. I'm like, I don't want to integrate it in because I don't want to
But
integrate the
the
goo.
goo's in his body. The goo's not in his soul, is it? Because you're
The
integrating
goo
the
becomes
soul.
the soul.
The goo takes over the soul. Okay, interesting. I think at some point we've all had an essence of goo. I know,
Oh, I
but
know.
I don't remember. So I don't know that. I don't remember drinking black goo or anything like that. I know Penny Bradley talks about that. It's like it's part of who they are to do that job as a navigator. It's an enhancer. My
Yeah,
phone's not
and
charging. There we go.
Brad and I were talking, brought that up that Drago and Penny both talk about that, and I just posed the question: are they ingesting the malevolent goo or the benevolent goo?
Hmm.
And what is it doing to them? Is it taking over or is it being symbiotic?
Yeah, because I'm not aware of the positive goo, and I don't think John Whitberg is either, because he generally talks about just black goo. We did a show on it on our sacred sites. Then there's an area um, off Antarctica. It's not in it's there's an area off Antarctica where there's a ton of black goo, like naturally created on the
Yep.
planet, natural life form there. But he's never seen the positive goo, only the malevolent one, I guess. So interesting. I've not heard Draco talk about it actually. I'm not familiar with Draco talking about it. I know we have femto. We get nanites because I've got a memory of being not of nanites, or like we've just come off a battle and so he's out of action and I'm just waking up and there's nanites being like pushed into my body. Um, okay, cool.
Yeah, I feel like I probably have nanites around because sometimes I'll feel like there's something crawling on me, but there's nothing there. And I used to think, oh, it's a shadow bug or something, and now I think, huh, is it a nanite working on something? And it's like
I
I
love
can feel it.
Star Trek Voyager when you've got 7 of 9, and that's like the best description of like the nanobots and everything. I think is you see them coming out of her and going into other things. Yeah, very very cool.
Yeah, and Wesley did a episode of The Next Generation where he designed nanites and
Hmm.
they went in the computer system and started eating everything up, and they had to figure out how to shut them down because they one broke free on their own, but two, they were starting to operate outside of the programming.
Yeah, Woo's put a comment in saying Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie 1995 is oozing soft disclosure. Now, I don't think I'm going to
Yeah.
ask John Whitberg to do a review on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but that is quite funny because I've submitted loads of movies for review on
Well,
his channel. Yeah.
actually, what's interesting about that is, because I've watched it, they, they don't ingest it, they just have to touch it and come in contact with it, and they become mindless drones. And so that, is the ooze like the black goo? If we touch it, does it take over? Or do we have to ingest it? Those are the things we don't know. We don't
Yeah, but
know
the
how.
reason that they ingest it is for enhancement. It's not for it to take over the body. It's to enhance keep you alive, basically, and to enhance your psionics. So I don't know. There's a question from James, and he's saying, ever get the sensation that somebody just stabbed you with a big needle or something? I've said yes, because I do get that
Oh,
occasionally.
I've had feelings of I'll wake up and I'll be like, my arm will feel like somebody's put a knife through it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I even have a chiropractor who's really good with bionics of he works with the body on a sacral level and energy and everything. And he'll be like, he'll look at it and he'll be like, oh, yeah, there's something here. Let's pull that out and let's, reset it and heal it. And so, yeah, I've had felt like spears, swords, gunshots. I've woken up with all kinds of feeling like injuries that I can't explain.
Yeah. So a spider bite has put a comment in saying disclosure for the masses is a delicate procedure. Do you remember War of the Worlds on the wireless? Mass panic ensued over fiction. The truth would be far worse for most people. Yeah, so I think I remember hearing about that when people really thought it was true that we were being invaded. That's interesting.
The War of the Worlds did that, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was actually, I don't know if it's British or Australian. There was a TV series that came out in the 90s that really hit really close to the fake demic that we recently had, and it was called The Tribe. And there was these kids that were the survivors of the human race, and they were broken into parts. Like you had the techies that were the technos, you had the mall rats, you had those that felt like they owned the people and needed to enslave them because they had the power. And so it was showing the different dynamics of the people and how they were just trying to survive in a post apocalyptic world. And the intro to it is a virus took over the planet and wiped out the adults and most of the population, and small pockets remained. And so it's kind of interesting, when we look at what we know today, how much television and movies has really showed us what is coming, but we didn't know what we were looking at the time.
Yeah, it's a massive influence. It really is soft disclosure, I believe. Okay, so let's have a look at the movies that you were going to talk about. Your first movie that we're going to talk about today is
Well, I want to preface this by I picked movies to talk about that I felt were no way going to trigger experiences like the last time. And so the talk that we've been leading up to
no,
this
I
has
really think it's
not
going
been
to
on
trigger some
me.
people.
But the movie I picked is a movie that I don't know that a lot of people would view it as paranormal, but it really is. And that is The Never Ending Story.
There's a lot in this movie. Oh my God. And I haven't watched it for like 40 years, right?
40 years.
Yeah, when did it come out?
Came out in like the 80s, maybe the 90s.
It didn't come out in the 90s. Let me find it on IMDb. Hold on.
Well, there was three of them, so I
So,
think
why
it
did
was
you
in
pick
the
this
80s.
movie? Okay.
I picked it because there is so much disclosure and paranormal in it that I think a lot of people don't realize what was really going on with this movie. And one of the aspects I didn't realize till I started rewatching it now with the eyes that I have now is like Sebastian and Atreyu. They were the same person. And the way I figured that out is Atreyu is selected by the people of Fantasia to save the queen, and the queen says, I need a name. Well, who gives the name? Sebastian. So if Sebastian saves the queen and Atreyu saves the queen, they're one and the same. and they can feel and sense each other. Like when Atreyu was in danger, Sebastian would be like, "No, there's danger," and he would feel what's going on with him. And the weather outside would be the same as what Atreyu is experiencing in Fantasia. And so to me, it was like you could almost argue Atreyu is Sebastian's altar, or vice versa, is Sebastian's Atreyu's altar. And
So I just want to make one comment before we go any deeper, is that the kid is Daryl, data analyzing robot youth life form, right? That's the kid from the Daryl movie, isn't it? So the first kid who's opening the book. Have you
Noah
watched
Hathaway,
Daryl?
or yeah, that one. Yeah, I think he is that one.
Right? So straight away I'm thinking that's Daryl, that which was my very first activating movie other than watching Bambi at the cinema, I think, which I know I was programmed with. Daryl is the kid from Neverending Story, and I never made that connection until now, where I've got it up on my screen. So that's really interesting. I know this is one of Drago Reed's favourite movies because he's spoken about it on a few different podcasts, and there's a lot of activation and disclosure and potential triggering in this movie for super soldiers.
Oh,
So
there
we'll
is.
see. Yeah. So what's your favourite thing about the movie?
I think my favorite thing about the movie is we're watching the journey, of, we talk about, I've talked about hero's journey, at the conference. Well, there's a huge hero's journey in this movie of, Atreyu is figuring out who he is and what his role is and what he's supposed to do and how's he going to do it. Well, his trusted steed disappears, in the swamp. And he, loses all faith in himself and feels so alone. And the nothing strikes at that moment, but then realizes I'm not alone. And Sebastian, at that moment, is like, no, what do I do? What do I do? He's, so invested in that moment that we realize how intertwined they both are. And the other aspect too, I just was thinking about to show Sebastian is Atreyu is who rides Falcor? Atreyu. Who rides in the end credits? Sebastian. So Sebastian rides Falcor, and Falcor, if you remember when he is first talking, he's like, I'm a luck dragon, and depending on who you are and what you are about, I may be here to help you or I may be here to eat you. And so it's another aspect, showing that, they're the same. And it just is so interesting to watch how fear can make you fall into a deep place to where all your senses are nullified and all your strengths just go to weakness until you find that moment where you find your courage and your bravery and your inner strength, and all of a sudden you realize nothing can hurt you. And I always thought it was kind of interesting. They made it look like the wolf was the nothingness that was coming to devour, but it was the storm behind it. The wolf was the herald announcing that it was near and coming. So everybody was like, "Oh, it's the wolf is bad. The wolf is, evil." And I was like, "No, the wolf is just there, letting it's what's about to strike." And he's not the evil villain of the story, because when you look at how it unfolded, Atreyu kills the wolf, but the nothing still comes. So if the nothing was the wolf, when the wolf died, it would have disappeared. So it wasn't. And so, yeah, I mean, there's just so many layers of different things in that story. And, the other aspect too is, as Atreyu is, walking through the statues, the twin statues, and all the knights, that were there and their arrogance and their pride and saying, on the night, I can beat everything, died trying to get through. Well, Atreyu is like, there's no way I can do this, but I have to. And so he finds his inner strength and figures out how to get through the gates with Sebastian's help. And it's like, yeah, it's just so many different inner stories. And I mean, they even have a scene where Falcor and Atreyu are on top of a mountain that looks like they're floating in space, breathing just fine. And it's like, huh. And so it makes you wonder, can we actually breathe in space or not? And I have a altar that, or myself, from the Solar Warden where I could operate in space without a helmet and no
Yeah, I
gloves
don't
on.
have that experience. I definitely don't know what you were souped up with, but I don't have that experience of breathing in space. I just want to say that Neverending Story was, I watched it at the cinema in 1984 when I was 9 years old. So it was 41 years ago that this came out. I'm 50.
Oh wow.
So that was the when I last watched
I was born in 78, so I'm not that far behind you.
it. So, but yeah, so they're talking about it in the chat. So this thing, Spider-Man says, I remember, oh, she's talking about Courage the dog, but this, it's just a story about courage, isn't it? Never-ending story. Um, the hero's journey. Do you think that there could be MK Ultra mind control programming in that movie? Because I reckon it probably was used.
Oh, I'm sure there is, and I'm sure that it's in everything because one of the things I love pointing out is when TV first began,
Hmm.
people would say, "Oh, I'm going to watch this show. I'm going to watch, we had the Mary Tyler Moore show or the Lucy show. Everything was a show. Even the news would be like a news broadcast show." And then all of a suddenly we hit this moment to where without anybody even being aware, it became, oh, we're watching this kid's program. Oh, this Stargate program is coming soon. We no longer called anything on TV shows. They were now programs. And so I think that's, the MK Ultra is, they had to put it in front of us. And so that's where, in a matter of a day or, a week or a month, they redid our vocabulary and nobody paid any attention.
Yeah, well, somebody said that it was patented as a mind control device. I've not checked that myself, but it makes sense because here we do talk a lot about programming, broadcasting, and programming. Broadcasting, that's an interesting word, isn't it? Broadcasting.
Well, they
Okay.
are casting a broad signal, so that's where that originated
I know.
from.
So it's quite funny. Okay, so the never-ending story. What else sticks out in that movie for you?
Well, I mean, we had the Orin, which was the snake intertwined medallion, and it's on a Treyu, and it's on the cover of a book in Sebastian's possession. So, how are those, how does that work? And I remember the scene where Sebastian, picks up the book and looks at it, the Orin glows. and the book opens. Well, what happened when Atreyu put on the Orin? It glowed. And when he needed help, the Orin would glow. And so what was the purpose of the Orin, and how was it in two worlds at the same time? And so that's where I view Fantasia as an alter world to our world, or vice versa. It could go the other way. And there's the fact that, like I said, Atreyu lost his horse, Ajax, in the swamp. But then at the end of the movie, when, the Empress has her new name and Fantasia is reassembled, Atreyu's riding his horse. So he got his horse back. And so it kind of proved to me, it was like a way of saying nothing dies, nothing is destroyed, everything can be brought back. And so it started me thinking, how does this work in the real world? Do our loved ones just simply exist in a new place and they're not dead? And when we die, we're not going to die. We're just going to move to a new location and in a new form. And so, therefore, we never cease. And is that the program? Maybe. Or maybe it's how we break out of the program and we live a free existence in another place. But it just shows us the strength to break free is within us, and the power is within us, because when we, and by we, I'm talking about in the movie Atreyu and Sebastian, when they found their inner strength and their inner courage, that's when the Orin would activate and the magic unfold. And magic works in two ways. Yes, we had the illusionary magic of, changing cards because we can do sleight of hand. But then there's also the magic, as I look at it, is, being in a room with people that are upset, and you just simply walk in and you start to see people are like, oh, they're starting to smile. Oh, they're starting to feel better. Well, what did you do? You just walked in, but your energy changed the environment around you and impacted them. That's a magic. And the way I've described it is the latter, where you're changing people with your energy, is magic with a K, and the illusion is the magic with the C. So that's why if you ever see when I write stuff, I'll write magic with a K when I'm talking about real magic versus the illusionary where I'll use the C.
That's pretty cool. At Witch's School, we were just taught that the magic with the K was just basically Aleister Crowley trying to distance himself from the illusionary magic. So he put that K on there. I don't use it. Magic is magic to me. I'm a very lazy witch.
Well, Aleister Crowley spells it CK. I'm talking about no C, just a
Oh,
K.
interesting. Okay, that's interesting. That's cool. So I'm just checking the chat. People are feeling a bit discombobulated today. Chaley's feeling like there could be a presence in her room that's cloaked. No idea what that is. Saying they're talking about Clockwork Orange. Now I've not actually watched that movie. There's something about it. I just couldn't watch the movie. Have you watched it?
I have watched most of it. It was quite a mind warp, and it's a very interesting subject, but I watched it once just to say that I've watched it, and it's been such a long time that I don't think I could recall a scene from it, or anything of it, but I do know the name, and if I'm not mistaken, that's a Stanley Kubrick movie. And his movies are soft disclosure, and there's some elements to it, and I don't have memory enough to really like make a recall about it, but yes, I am familiar with it, and I did see it once.
Okay, yeah, I've not seen it. I was just kind of pushed away from it. I think for protection. So it's definitely some kind of programming movie, or whatever. Okay. So I'm just reading. They're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, and Star-Lord's father, Ego, and how he was riding on a ship in space with nothing, but he was a god. He was like a an immortal. So talking a
So
bit
here's
about
the
that.
interesting thing about that
Mm.
is we as a people, we are born, we die, we come back, and that's a cycle. But one thing that I always found interesting is when you read the Bible, the original version of it before it got all chopped up by the Council of Nicaea, they talk about the divinity of the people on earth and how we're all children of God. We're all the sons and daughters of God. Then it became Jesus is the Son of God, and we had our divinity taken away. And so when I see like Marvel where Star Lord's dad is a god, I look at that and go, and yeah, we all are children of God. We started as divine beings. We had our divinity taken away from us by programming and being told we're not no longer the children of God, that we are servants to this God, so to speak. And so to me, that's like, Marvel is like, oh, with all their disclosures, it's a way of them, I think, pointing out we are all connected to gods. We just don't realize it. And we have divine abilities and divine rights. We just have to own them. And we don't because we're told that's wrong or that's a myth. There are no like demigods or there are, anything. And so we just have been dumbed down in a way so far that we've lost truly who we are and what we are.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. They're talking in the chat about things. So I've just asked the question, does anybody see a face behind you? Because occasionally I keep getting this imprint coming forward of a woman's face.
Oh, I
So
wouldn't be surprised.
so you've got your own
But
team of
I do, and
yeah.
we were talking about the second movie that I had picked for this one that you looked it up and saw it and you were like, yeah, was the movie I Am Number Four. And I don't know if many people have seen this, but the premise of the movie is 12 kids from another world have been brought to the Earth to be kept safe from a galactic war. And they have a guardian and they had themselves, and they're supposed to be killed in order, and the first three were found and killed by these hunters from the warring tribe, and they live a normal life, but then when they get in trouble, like he has the ability to throw light from his hands, and they start having these abilities waking up, and they can move faster, they can have healing that we don't have. And to me, I was like, this is a paranormal movie because one, we have the alien aspect to it, and so, there's that, but there's also, how he is human looking but has these abilities, and they can sense each other and they can communicate through other means, and they're helping each other without knowing who they are. Like six appears to help four, and you could say, well, yeah, she's trying to keep them from, her being picked off, but then she would be helping five, not four, because that would be the one before her. And so it's like, why is six helping four? And, how accurate is this? Because the first scene they show where I'm not sure if it was two or three is being hunted and killed, but he's able to swing through the jungle where he lives like an ape. And I can't help feeling like, if we were to be in touch with ourselves, could we do that as well? Be swinging through and surviving off the grid and having, enhanced sound, advanced smell, sight, and all these enhancements naturally come to us. And so, yeah, for the paranormal, unexplained, that's why I picked this movie as well, is because it was a different form of paranormal, not your
Yeah.
we
Well,
have
this is
ghosts.
this is disclosure for the programs because when I watched this in 2011, of course, I didn't realize that I am number seven, right? Which, of course, is it's not the same as these kids in this thing because I'm linked into the Spencer group, into Umbrella Academy, and Drago and I are both in kind of that number system there. So I'm number seven. I'm not going to say which number Drago is. I'll leave it for you guys to figure that out. But they're using my ability, which is the phosphomancy, the light ability. So number seven in Umbrella Academy is based on my archetype, yeah. So basically how I've been living, so how my powers were taken away from me by suppressing my emotions, because my light ability is so powerful, it's destructive, right? And so when I was watching the original I Am Number Four, I felt very drawn to the movie, but I didn't know why. I didn't know why, but obviously it makes sense. But they're killing them all off in number. They have to do them in order, which is a bit weird, but it's a good movie. But that actor, he's in a lot of Disclosure movies. So he was in that Alex Rider. Like, was it Stormbreaker? I'm writing down Stormbreaker. Is it
Right, it was
Stormbreaker?
Stormbreaker.
Yeah, Stormbreaker. So he's Alex Rider. So that as soon as you said I'm number four and I saw that actor, that made me think about the Stormbreaker series, the Alex Rider, where he is basically a secret agent, and he's been trained by his uncle to be a secret agent, but he didn't realise. My son's awake now, hair drying his Korean style hair, and but yeah, so it's interesting that they're bringing in kids, they're numbering the kids just like they did in the programs. So some of us were numbered anyway based on your birthday. So I'm probably not number seven in real life. I'm probably number 17 because that's the day I was born, was 17. But still in Umbrella Academy, I've been depicted as number seven. That character is based on me and my story, my testimony, because that's what they did. They stole our journey, basically. But that is such a good movie. But it was the bounty hunters. Do you relate them back to a particular alien?
You know, that is a good question, and I would say by how they were acting and what they were doing, I would kind of say they're a mix between the Zeta and the Draco reptilians, because they were like power hungry and just wanting to take over, consume, and move on. And they had no remorse or anything. And they didn't care who they hurt along their way. I mean, look at the fact of how many humans they killed or, put in danger or wounded. And they were just like, you don't mean anything. But I am number four. He's like, I have to be careful what I do because I can't hurt anybody. And there's even a scene where they're at a party and they're, everyone's coming through and he jumps off the roof and lands and is able to get up and run. And everybody's like, whoa, that's not possible. You shouldn't be able to do that. And then you see in the next scene, the bounty hunters are, have squad cars coming at them. And what do? They blast them, cause the cars to flip over them, and they just keep on walking and will unleash these creatures that do a lot of damage to the town. And they don't care. They just want their prize, they just want their prey, and they don't care what how they get it. And that to me is the main difference, and it shows you who's in the right, who's in the wrong in our terms, and which side should we be on. I'd be like, I'm going with the numbered kids because they're at least looking out for us, where the other ones, they're just gonna make you fodder and you'll just die on the battlefield and they won't care.
So the Guardian in that movie, I'm number four, is Timothy Oliphant, who was the Hitman. Have you watched the Hitman movie?
I have.
That is definitely a disclosure movie. I was just saw that and I thought, oh my god, and that links into so many different things like Dark Angel, and we could do a whole show on that one.
Oh
So
yeah.
I need to rewatch the Hitman movie, right? Because it's probably a really good testimony of what it's like to be an agent who's like alone, just a lone assassin out there taking random jobs like rogue, corporate SSP role or something. I don't know.
I
Or
think
the
there's two
USAP.
of them even.
Yeah. But that first
And
one, let me just get the date on that first
and
one.
another one along those lines was a video.
2007 Hitman. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a video game that they brought into real movie, and that was Assassin's Creed.
Yes. Oh,
And if you watch that one, and I should have put that one on my list, and
that's
now,
definitely an activating movie for sure.
I
Flashbacks
mean,
and in that movie, wow.
well, and they're put on a machine, like we could call it the chair. He's put in a chair, and then he's lifted up, and this machine is forcing the memories of the past into reality, and it's training his body, and his body is learning what it's capable of and what it's done to the point to where they're actually activating them without activating them, and they can't control them once they're been created. And what was interesting too is they're kept in a pyramidal type prison in the middle of a city, and when they break free, it's like they can run up walls, they can jump large distances. And where else have we seen that? The Matrix. And so it's like, here's another movie example of what are we capable of when we break out of the program of denying who we are and what we can do.
Okay, there's some really interesting things going on in the chat. Talking about Timothy Oliphant and Sprinkles talking about somebody who she believed to be undercover. But yeah, that's so cool. Um, okay, was there anything else about I Am Number Four that you wanted to bring up? Sorry, because I know I go off on a tangent and my mind just goes spider webs. Yeah, I make connections like.
Well, the interesting thing was, and I'm not sure what it meant, but the kid who has no powers, his dad finds a rock that he doesn't know what it is, but I think he does know what it is, and had all these symbols around it. And they learn when you put the rocks together. I don't remember if it's like creates a map or creates like a communication device or something, but I think it had to do with it identified where all 12 were. And so it was like they could find each other and help each other. And a fun fact while I was looking up I Am Number Four was the sequel or the next movie that they were going to do, but because they said the movie didn't do so well, they didn't do it, was The Power of Six. So apparently, five has nothing to do with the series. And so it's kind of funny that, we're told they have to be killed in order, but now we're having four story, six's story. So apparently the order got thrown out somehow because five doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's funny. I find that we don't really need the map, although I do get a clone map in my mind, but we are finding each other without the map. Isn't that weird how we're finding each other from all across the globe? Yeah, we're getting like I got drawn to my dyad, and so we're still reconnecting with soul family. So I think that's super cool
Well,
that we're all finding each other.
I don't know that I would say without the map though, because what is one thing that we all have that are in the programs? We all have crystals. And so those crystals may be the map that is bringing
I
us
love that.
to.
I love That's true. We all work with crystals. Um, I'm trying to think if there's somebody who doesn't work with crystals. I think pretty much we all have crystals, don't we? We've all been
Yeah.
drawn to work with crystals in some way. And that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, I mean, I've never thought in a million years I would reconnect with like a long lost brother or something, or two even. So it's so weird how we've all kind of gravitated towards each other at the right time as well. At the right time. Yeah. So it's taken me, I'm probably one of the slowest to wake up, and wasn't until it's like 3 years ago. I mean, I've been on my spiritual journey for a long time, but when it comes into the disclosure and the SSP and all that kind of stuff, it was about 3 years ago I met a lady. Had a wellness studio, and then this lady called Jill came, and she was talking about Ashiana Dean and Lisa Renee, and she was talking about deep underground military bases and the truth of what's going on in the world. I had no idea what she was talking about. But it was like she came in to make sure that I activated at a set time. And now when I talk to her, she's not into any of this stuff. And she said to me in November, was this because of me? And I was like, I think so, because it really activated something and put me back. Like I had a course correction. She came in for a course correction. So I was always going to awaken at this point in time, but I needed a bit of a push, I think, to awaken to the darker underbelly of what's really going on in the world.
Well, and
Okay.
I don't know that I necessarily would say that it's the dark underbelly. I think we view it that way because it's been erased from our memories and we've been controlled and manipulated. But at the same time, I have started to where I no longer look at it as this negative thing, is I look at the positives of now look what I can do. Look at what I have learned, and I try to, put a positive spin on it. And I'm not saying, I'm okay with what they're doing, but instead of focusing on the dark and the negative part of it, I choose to look at the positives within me of, now I know that this exists, so now I can go and help others that they call for help, or I can do this, I can do that. And so I'd be cautious, to keep using the verbiage like the dark and, malevolent aspects of it because what you focus on is what you bring. And so I've learned through some of the channeling sessions with Laura that we do, there is good side that's using the programs for good, and there are malevolent sides that are using it for bad. But the difference is like how they look at it is they're just doing the programs. There is no good or bad. That's our perceptions. And so we have to look at, and go, hey, is it a good thing, that we, learned we have psionics? Well, yeah, I can use my energy to help, people who may be in situations where they're helpless. Well, if I wasn't in the programs, would I know I had that ability? Maybe not. Is that a side effect of the programs? And so am I able to use it? How cool is that? And so that it's one of those things of we just have to be aware of where we're focusing and what we're focusing on and why. And I just, I don't know why I'm being drawn to a positive spin inside of it while everybody else, or most people focus on the other. I don't know why I was triggered differently, but maybe it was to reveal, that there were two sides to it and we don't blindly put everybody in one category.
I agree. I mean, I've been told by Ivan Teller that even my versions in Nachtwaffen are doing good from the inside out, kind of thing. So, like, and I do have a memory of, I'm calling her Lucia, and she was a corporate spy off planet on the breakaway colonies. The more I dig into connecting with her, she was a double agent, and I think she died as a double agent. She was on some kind of covert program where she was working both sides, and so yeah, so there's like a secret what do you call it? I can't think of the right word. We're all like secret factions. We're all secretly doing good, even though we're in the darkest. Because when I think of Natguafen, I think of it like a mirror universe. That's the only way I can kind of think of it in my mind to explain to people is that everybody's not so good. Everybody's dark. That's just the way it was. If it's like Star Wars and you're working for the Empire, then everybody is negative. But secretly, privately, there's something else going on. There's an underground. Yeah. Okay. What was your third movie? Did we talk about the
Uh,
third movie? I don't think so.
Not yet, but the third movie I picked because of one aspect of the movie that stood out to me and I loved how they did it, and that was Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Oh
And I
yes,
know
Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah.
everybody's going to say, well, Ghostbusters dealing with the ghosts and, everything, obviously is paranormal. But the aspect to why I picked it was how they showed Egon because he had died before this movie came out and not in real life. I'm talking story wise in the story. And so well, actually, I think he really did die
Yeah, he
in
did.
real life. And
Yeah.
so his character is made of light and he comes in to help in his spirit form. And to me, I was like, that's why I categorize it more as a paranormal sci-fi movie is because we have one of the Ghostbusters in spirit form activating traps, helping his teammates, get back together, make one last stand. And, you know, it's just to me, it was like so touching how they did it because in so many movies, when characters, who play characters die, they use CGI or old archival footage to generate a new version so they can keep the story going, and you don't realize that that person died. And it doesn't look totally natural, but it looks close enough that most people will just accept it. And they didn't do that with this one. And so I thought that was really cool. And at the end of the movie, when he accomplishes what he needed to do to keep his family safe, he turns into like stardust almost and goes into the heavens. And it's like, I was like, that is a really beautiful send off. And it was like emotional to watch. And I mean, how many movies, show death in such a light way? And by light, I mean, how we're energy. And so that's why I picked that movie as my third movie, is, because it opened our eyes to a new version of death and a new way to look at it to where you're not afraid of it.
Yeah, I love all the Ghostbusters movies. I had Ghostbusters cards, comics, dolls. I used to make myself a proton pack of cardboard boxes and try and strap it on with pillows and things like that. I was mad. I am a massive Ghostbusters fan. More the early stuff, obviously, not the new stuff. But I do think that I even don't mind the female version of Ghostbusters. Right, I don't mind that, and
And
I know everyone said it was a big flop, but I actually don't mind it. I thought it was all right actually. Um,
I
yeah,
think
movie.
they they tried too hard to bring the comedy of Ghostbusters in by having female characters that are comedians,
Yeah,
but their comedies were so different to where the original Ghostbusters, they were scientifically funny.
yeah.
The women to me just was like they're just randomly funny and they didn't really gel as a team, and I was like, I
Mm,
felt like they were just trying to make it fit the time period of what people were wanting, and it really to me didn't work. And
yeah.
I will admit, Chris Hemsworth, I mean, he is funny in a lot of the
They
Thor
just
movies
literally
and everything.
brought him in as eye candy, and they basically said,
Yeah,
"This is the eye candy. Here you go." Yes, that was sad.
yeah. It was
Um,
like they needed a guy for the cast, and they're like, "Here
yeah,
you go. We'll make
let's have
him
Thor.
like, act like he's dumb and has no intelligence." And I was like, it just didn't work.
Yeah,
And so that's why I'm like, I'm not such a fan of that one,
yeah.
but the equipment and how they, what they did was
Mm.
really cool. It's just the teamwork didn't gel for me.
No, I mean, in the original ones, you could really feel that they were like college roommates kind of thing. You could feel that bond, that banter there. I love the original movie. I think a lot of the comedy that I have is and one-liners have come from that movie. And if any of my friends have not seen original Ghostbusters, please go and watch it right now. I will not talk to you until you do. Right? It's that much. That's how much that made a mark on my life. Even though I don't, know what I'm like with paranormal, I'm an absolute like shaking in the corner kind of person. But this afterlife movie, straight away, the house, okay, that house is spooky as hell, right? There's
Oh
something
yeah.
with that house. Just the overview of the house that itself is triggering for me. Something about that property. And then of course going down is like the storm cellar, which is like a secret lab, and um, that's I mean if I could have my ideal place to go and live, it is a cabin on a lake. But obviously I do want to have other levels there where I can have like super spy things coming up and whatever. That would be the perfect place for me. um but I think this Ghostbusters Afterlife was a great movie, and the way it was kind of like homage back to all, even like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and they kind of bringing that in. There were so
Oh
many
yeah.
great things in there, like and the Slimer and all. Yeah, so good, so good. So why did you pick this movie? Was there anything disclosure straight away that you think, okay, that could be activating?
I would say the fact of I want to make sure I don't confuse the two is they had the technology and they were dealing with the same God again, but they had put up measures to where I think it is Afterlife where they had proton pack weapons keeping it at bay and they were activated and doing it on their own and it was causing earthquakes and nobody could understand why and they were mining and then one of them gets shut down and Dozer reappears and it's just to me is like it's funny when they meet again and they have like the conversation again and it's like they're different, they're responding differently, they're not the naive group that they were in the beginning, and it showed their progression, but also look at the car. All of a sudden, the Ecto 1 had a seat that ejected out, and you could hunt, so to speak, the ghost while in motion. I was like, that was new tech. And the remote control car traps
Yeah, I was just thinking about
and the
that.
drones. It's
Yeah.
like they
So
were bringing it modern day and going, yeah, these
yeah. I mean, these were
programs.
geniuses back in the day, so of course the granddaughter's going to be a genius now. James in the chat is saying in the SSP they use those magnetic containment bubbles to trap one's essence or soul. Yeah, so we have like containers we can take people's soul by or whatever, and so like cut off the brainstem, put it in a like a little like a little chamber and take
Yeah.
that back. Yeah. So I
I
guess that's
don't
the
know
same as
if
harnessing the ghosts in the containment trap. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if it was in a movie or if it was in a video game that I stumbled on about the Ghostbusters, but there was rooms where they had objects that were haunted that were stuck and they couldn't break free until the system overloaded
Hmm.
and then they were able to break free out of containment. But they were, instead of using those little traps and shoving them
Hmm.
in the wall like they showed in the original movie, they were being contained in rooms where like it
I
could
think
bounce around.
maybe that's the Frosty movie when they go
That
into that
could be,
underground
yeah.
facility and it's got those glass chambers. Now I have a memory of being in a glass chamber like that with my dad opposite me, and we were literally in observation chambers, a little bit like on the when people watch the TV show the AO. Have you seen that, or the OA? Which one is it? I don't know, but I've been in a containment facility like that where I've been monitored for my psionics, and I'm in my memory, my dyad's telepathing saying, "Don't show them, don't do it, don't do it." And there's like a red ball or balloon that's just kind of floating around, like hoping that you're gonna like catch onto it. So I've got a memory like that, and I recreated an image of it recently, and we think we're both in our Japanese versions. So it's my alter called Eris. So, but yeah, so that was triggering for me in the next movie when they're in that underground facility and then she kills herself so that she can connect to the ghost girl. It just didn't make any sense. Like, why would she do that? Like, because she wanted to kiss a ghost? Insane. It just did not, it was too woke, I think. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that it was because she wanted to kiss the ghost and it was the woke. Well, that's the story that they tell, but to me, it had manipulated her and it made her give up her essence so that it could be
Oh, it
free.
was a love bite. It was a
Yeah,
love bite situation because she felt that that girl was the only person who could understand her. So she literally got love bombed in a way to
yeah,
think that's the only person that can understand me. And so she'd literally give up her life to connect to that person. And in doing that, they were harnessing the powers. I get it. I get it.
yeah. And so, I mean, the whole Ghostbusters series is disclosure of, you have these entities, feeding on us and they call themselves gods. And that's pretty much what we're dealing with now is, these people who think they're gods and they have the right to control us because they've put in front of us their agendas and we haven't said no. And so they have free will to do it. And it's because people don't realize two letters has the power to put them down and in their place. And we don't want to believe that. And when I say we, I'm talking about the mass consciousness. But the beauty of it is just like, in the Ghostbusters movie, the original, there was four that stood up and said no and brought the god down, and Prude's not.
Are you a god?
Yeah.
Next time, if somebody asks you if you're a god, you say
Yes.
yes.
Yes. And then, even in the second movie, it was a different type of being that was, coming through a painting. And it was the
Okay,
five
that
of them.
movie scared the hell out of me. Oh my god. God, that was so bad. That painting of Vigo, was it?
Yeah.
And there's just that whole movie, the ghost nanny, the pink goo. Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
underbelly of the pink. I don't know. I'm saying underbelly three times on this show. I don't know why. Well, the pink goo. So literally, maybe we do have black goo surging underneath our streets, and they're representing that as the pink goo, and we're feeding it with our anger and frustration all the time.
Yeah.
And they're
It was all
loosening
the
it and
negative.
creating the goo. Yeah. Oh, we need to get Aurora Diamondheart on to start to do a full Ghostbuster show. I think that would be so awesome.
Well, and what their target was the baby, which that's what the SSP is they target the kids. And then there was, then they went and did the four women and really don't know what the disclosure to that was because I feel like that was just an attempt to do the woke, and they seem to be in Hollywood in a motif of anything that's successful that has a male cast, we need to have a female cast now. And it doesn't always work. And it's not a gender thing, it's just the chemistry of the characters is different, and you can't mess with that. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, a TV show that did it where I feel like it actually worked was Battlestar Galactica, where in the 70s you had mostly male pilots, a few female pilots, and the crew, did what they needed to do, and they had their little soldier-esque, camaraderie deal. But then the second version, the remake, to me was disclosure of a whole new level to where you had human Cylons. And you never knew that they were androids or robotic. And they had sentient life and they had consciousness. They were like AI walking around. And to me, that movie, that series, the last episode, oh my God, I was like in disclosure overload because it shows I think it was number six, and that was her Cylon designations walking with the doc, and they're walking on the earth, and you see the dinosaurs. You see all of a suddenly the fields turning into men hunting. then it goes to cities, and then it goes to modern times. And it's like it showed the evolution and how they were there watching. And to me, that was like the ultimate disclosure of, yeah, we were handpicked to be here to create this colony, this world, and how it unfolded was not by choice, it was programmed in. And yeah, I mean, it's like pure disclosure right there. And most people would never watch it because it was a sci-fi show.
So Spiderbite in the chat from Australia, she's mentioned about love goo. And so I've commented about you talking about the positive black goo. So maybe that could be the love goo that we're all feeding that into with our positive energies. What do you think?
It's possible. I mean, I've honestly never heard of Love Goo. That's a new one on me,
No.
but I wouldn't be surprised that there was because I mean, it's sentient life and
Yeah.
what it is, is based on how we perceive it and how it's programmed. I mean, look at AI. It can either destroy us or help us
Yeah, because I've
based
not
on.
experienced I don't remember much about black goo. But I do remember bliss. And so bliss is the energy that we tune into, especially when, because I do access consciousness. So when we are accessing the bars on people's heads, you move into that state of transcendental meditation. And I've gone into pure bliss energy and it's insane. But then when I was on a battle a couple of months back with David Purcell, we were getting such targeting. We tuned into a ship above us and above me, and then we went on this ship and I saw myself on the ship, and because I've got my scorpion entity ability, I literally just kind of released scorpions and they took over this ship and literally like everybody, and because it was a negative ET ship, and so we neutralized the ship, and then all the scorpions came back, and then there was this moment where I felt this dark bliss energy, because I have a lot of dark goddess energy programmed in anyway, and it was just so beautiful, and I literally altered out into dark bliss. And I spoke to Dr. Amir about it, and he said, "Oh, that's just the spoils of war. Allow yourself to indulge occasionally, but obviously don't fall into dark bliss too much." But so I know the difference between the two, and the dark bliss is very enticing, very like luxurious and enticing. It's like a velvety feel over your body, like you're just like duvet in, so it's mad. So I get why people might be drawn to the goo energies, but of course, if there's black goo, dark goo, then there must be a polarity, right? There must be something in balance there. Somebody mentioned Goosebumps, and the movie Goosebumps I found far too triggering. Have you watched that movie with Jack Black?
I haven't. I know it's a book series, but I
The
didn't
TV
watch
show, I
the
think, as
movie.
well. Yeah, but you okay? Watch that movie because I found it way too tricky. Because it's got one of those ventriloquist dummies in it, and for me, that was just too far. I was like, oh no way, no way.
You know, there is a movie that just popped in my head I've seen once,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering if you've seen it, and it's These Walls Have Clocks, I think is the name of it.
Oh, I don't know. Let me
Or
check. So let me check that. These
I
walls
think
have
it's got
clocks.
Hugh Grant in it.
Oh, with Hugh Grant. Hold on, let me check IMDb. Tell us a bit about it.
It's a house that this kid is brought to, and he starts to realize that different rooms have different energies or different happenings to it, to where doors will open or not open depending on what's going on. And they're trying to keep, if memory serves right, they're trying to keep a certain energy or a certain being from obtaining this device, and it's hidden in the walls. and it's this huge clock that can alter time or something, and they're trying to keep it safe, and this kid ends up being the key to the whole thing.
Okay, Blue's saying the house with clocks in its walls. I have seen
That's
that.
it.
Yeah. Let me just double check that. Uh, Trying to find it on IMDb. It's not coming up. I don't know, but I know the one you mean. That was a very creepy movie. I'm
Yeah.
really sensitive to things. The house with a clock in its walls. Yeah, I've got it. 2018. Oh no, that's a short version. That's not the one.
Yeah.
But I think I know the one you mean. There's a lot going on in that movie.
Yeah.
I definitely need to rewatch that, I think, and
But
see. Yeah.
if you want a, I think if you want a disclosure movie that's going to really make you think, Prince of Persia.
Oh, really? I used to be addicted to the game when I was at school, 35 years ago.
I know it's another video game turned movie, but the premise of it is there's a dagger that you can move through time so far, depending on how much sand you release, determines how far back in time you can go. And the deal is if some like his father is murdered and he gets blamed because the uncle gave him a robe that killed him, and his brothers turn on him, and one brother ends up believing in him and is killed, and the other one is slow to return to, trusting in him. But these women are in charge of keeping this dagger safe and the sands of time that are in it safe. And there's a scene to where there's this huge tower, hourglass, and they break it, and all the sand is free, and all of time is being manipulated in that one scene. And you have to activate the dagger at a certain point to only go back a certain time and undo a lot. And to me, the reason why I say that's a really important disclosure movie is because we think about going back in time all the time and changing things. Like, some people will say, I'll go back in time and make it to where I never join the programs, or go back in time and I'm going to erase this from happening. And I realized one day I just kind of woke up with this actualization of if I go back and I alter one aspect of my past, I alter, not only do I alter who I become, but I alter how everyone around me becomes who they become. And so it's not just me fixing me, it's me fixing me and everybody that's in that scenario, whether I know they're in it or not. And so, do I have the right to go back and change something for myself and risk losing who I become and risk who everybody else becomes?
Well, you're gonna have a Back to the Future situation there of an alternate timeline created, aren't you? Um, if you go back in time,
I,
potentially and make such a big change like that, you might
well,
get stopped.
what
Yeah.
I'm meaning is, let's say you go and you're in science class and you do a
Mm.
lab and you mistakenly, mix two chemicals and it foamed over and everybody's laughing at you. And then you're like, that's it, I'm not into science. And you're like, huh, I really should have, been done better in science. So you go back and you fix it so you don't mix the two wrong chemicals and it doesn't foam over. Well, everybody that was laughing at you or, consoled you in that event now are robbed of that opportunity. So they're not going to unfold the way they unfolded. And so that's where I say, changing one aspect, even so small, ripples out in ways we don't realize.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shout out to John Whitberg who's in the chat. John's got his own movie review series called USAPs in Cinema, and so do check his channel. Chaley's put a comment saying The House with the Clock in Its Walls is an adaptation of John Bellairs' 1973 children's book, while Goosebumps is based on is that I or L? Can't see. R.L. Stein's series. Despite the differences, the films are often compared. And she goes on to say because they both feature Jack Black as a central character, and they were released close together and target a similar audience as well. Interesting.
So here's an interesting fact that I found out recently when I was talking with Brad Olson is Jack Black was given a role and he didn't want to do the role and was told you can either do the role or we will make your clone do the role, but you're going to do the role.
Wow.
And he openly says this, and so he is openly admitting Hollywood has clones of the actors.
Yeah. Well, I do believe, as one of my friends said, that they're all clones. They've always been clones. We've always known them to be clones, and we've grown up with the clone versions of them. So I don't know where the originals are, but I do connect into clones. I talk about clones a lot on my channel.
Well,
So
here's
yeah,
where he and I ended up going with this is the black goo creates a synthetic clone that is, run by the goo is what they've been finding. And so we I brought up Dolly, the sheep, and I said,
yeah,
it's interesting, we cloned the sheep and it's like a year in the news and then nothing about it. And
yeah.
I go, huh, I wonder if they used the black goo because it's in England. England is the science lab that's messing with the goo for everybody. Thank you,
Okay.
England.
Um,
And
I have a lot of my scientists clone alters in the labs in the UK, primarily in London, but also Sheffield just popped into my mind, which is quite interesting because I had a bad experience in Sheffield a few months ago. So yeah, so okay, so you still need that person's a drop of their soul to run the clone, even if it's a synthetic, and but the black goo would help to make them more programmable and controlled, I guess. I
yeah,
guess.
and if the original dies, then the goo version falters. And they're
Hmm.
saying, look at, the world. How many, like, you're seeing
Yeah.
people starting to look like they're failing or just dropping dead. Well, what happened? Their original died.
Yeah,
And
well,
so,
then the soul would rehome if the original died. So like Voldemort, if you, yeah, hmm, I'm basically Voldemort. Think about that one. So yeah, so if I'm the original, I know I am. If I'm the original, or let's call her the Orphan Black. That sounds nicer than Voldemort, doesn't it? So it's like with clones, it's like Horcruxes basically that you're split into so many, and I was split into 24 million allegedly. But if my original dies, right, because I'm saying that I'm potentially not the original, but I am a manager, I'm like the governor of the clones, then yeah. So if the original dies, then none of the rest can really exist because they would rehome all of the soul essence, I believe. But I'm still working on these theories. Um, so
no, that's actually there's a lot of people who have been
mhm,
researching, the projects and everything and going, alters cannot function without the original. So if you
yeah.
find version prime and kill it, you
I'm
kill
Anchorhaven Prime.
everything. And I just use version prime
No, I love
because
that. I'm Anchorhaven Prime. I'm going to start using that.
and we were and I was discussing with somebody. I was like, we assume we're prime, but we may not be. We may be clones.
Yeah, I believe that this
and
is actually a
somewhere
clone
else
version,
is,
and that my prime is actually on Mars, where we live a lot longer. Because it was John Whitberg who said, well, why would the primary be in a human body that can only live 100 years? It makes no sense. So the primary is going to be probably a working aspect of me that does not realize it's a primary on Mars or somewhere. And then
well,
whereas I'm on this planet to be a governing aspect for the clones. And I say that because I get a clone map that opens up of my echo chain, so I can connect in and I can slip my consciousness into different versions of me. And I do that all the time. ACO warned me not to do it as well. And they said it's bad, don't do that, it's dangerous. But it just happens naturally, and I'll find myself in different versions of me when I'm in meditation. Sorry, go
yeah,
on.
and you just have to be aware that, when you say, as a human, we only have a lifespan of 100 years, it's not exactly true. It's because we've been pumped full of synthetic food and synthetic chemical drugs that the body's ability to heal and regenerate itself and to keep it going is severely diminished. And the way I look at that is in the BC times, people were living 900,000 years in one lifespan. Well, what changed? Medicine became prevalent. They started modifying foods, and so we went from being natural on the land, living hundreds of years, to we're now eating synthetic chemical propagated food, and we're down to if 100 if we're lucky. And that's the only real difference is we are no longer self regulating ourselves. We are incapable now based on what's been done to us. And that to me is one of the biggest things I think of disclosure is, we're not any different from our ancestors who could live hundreds of years, except that we don't use natural medicine and we don't eat natural food. And I'm not saying to go vegan or pescatarian or, whatever. You can eat whatever you want, just don't eat modified food. And I know it's hard to find, and it's, they changed the label. It used to be GMO, now it says modified ingredients or additive, or it's coded in a different way. But yeah, and the thing that, I laugh about when people say, "Oh, I eat organic stuff from farms." I'm like, "You're not, because the water from the farm that's not organic, that's your neighbor, the water that runs through the soil down the way doesn't sit there and go, oh, wait, this is an organic farm. Let's go around the border." No, it goes through. So all those chemicals are in the organic food through the groundwater. When it rains or when somebody waters, the water goes everywhere. It doesn't sit there and just go certain tracks and going, okay, we're going to go to this plot over here because, that's the same system we are. And so we don't really have organic anything anymore unless it's upper bed and has no contact with any other soil.
That's good points. Good points. Yeah. Sorry. They're putting words in the chat, and I'm like, no, let's not use that particular word, please. And they're saying, well, we can't use that adult word. No, let's not use that word, guys. Not in the chat. Not on the Mystical Wellness channel. So,
Well,
okay, if anyone's got any
I don't want to be
more,
responsible for bringing a channel down.
no, it's fine. It's my moderators who started it. So, And it's fine. I'm open to all modes of discussion, but let's not use particular words that potentially get the channel banned. And the C word is definitely off limits as well as the P word, yes.
Oh yeah.
And okay, anyone got any questions for Paranormal Mike? Please pop them in the chat because we've been going for 118 minutes, which is awesome. I know, but you probably want to go to bed soon. So, although it's 8 a.m. where I am, so I'm starting my day. So yeah, so I can go on for ages. Um,
It's kind of
so
funny. I've went like this to say two, and my finger, like, I only had 1.5 fingers up because of the virtual background that I have. It's like
so
somehow
I'm not the
there it
only
is.
person that sees a person behind you, by the way. Other people see an entity coming in from the forest. Coming in. Okay. So, Mike, can you share your spookiest paranormal experience, says Woo?
Oh, let's see. Which scariest? I don't know that I really have a scariest paranormal. It takes a lot for me to get spooked. Um, I don't really have a scary one, but I have one that is a conundrum for me that I can't explain. And it actually encompasses 3 different days and two people. Is I was at a haunted location and it was in a doll room, and I've investigated there for months and nothing ever happened in this room really. And every 15 minutes we started hearing a doll laugh, and it was a digital doll laugh, and we would stand in a circle and nobody could ever agree where it was coming from. So then we stood in a straight line, couldn't figure out where it's coming from. We divide into corners of the room, couldn't figure out where it's coming from. We were saying above us, below us, we spent an hour and a half and we could not determine the source of this giggle. And we started hearing it in other rooms that were adjacent. And so we're like, okay, it's traveling. But the fact was, it was every 15 minutes. And so it was like kind of freaking me out. And so I came back a week later with two other people and we're listening for it. And it actually starts up and starts going. And one of the ladies that joined us does security there, and she's like, she starts dropping curse bombs and is like, what is this? I've never heard this. And I'm like, neither had I until last week, and we couldn't figure it out. And then the owner of the building caretaker, she was working and she heard it in another room far from where we heard it, but then figured out it was one of the dolls in the room that was battery operated, but there were no batteries in it. So we still can't determine how this doll was making this laughing sound. And this was like over a month of hearing it, and then we never heard it again. And so whatever was causing it decided to leave, I guess, and go somewhere else, and or had its fun, and it's like, okay, I'm done. So that's the conundrum to me, is I can't explain how a doll that's battery operated with no batteries in it is activated, and how is activated out of time. That just is so many factors that I can't even begin to fathom how to replicate that.
So, have you been on any investigations lately?
I was supposed to go on an investigation Saturday, but I had to cancel it because of a family issue that came up.
Hmm.
And I did go actually a couple weeks ago. I did do an investigation at the new location where the haunted house is. And I was starting to sense this little girl around, and I was like, it just was driving me nuts sensing this little kid. And I was like, there are no little kids here. What is this energy that I'm picking up? Why am I picking up a little kid? And I knew there was in a few rooms over some other people doing some experiments. And so I went and I talked to the guy that was in there, and I was like, hey, did you pick up on a little girl? And he said she just walked out of the room as you came in. And I said, well, I've been sensing it from the other side of the building, which is where she would have ran to. So it's like I predetermined where she was going to go, sensing where she was going. I picked up on her plan, I guess, but it was kind of interesting to pick up on the energy and somebody else had the same energy. And then I was first time doing a EVP session with equipment with this lady and her son. And we were starting to get some really weird responses. Like, it's like I could place it, but like names were coming through and things, warnings were coming through. And I was like, this, it was so unusual. And I was like, yeah, we all started getting a little creepy feeling. And I ended up having to leave around midnight, 1 o'clock. And some people were there until 2 or 3 in the morning. And they said about probably half hour after I left, the place got really active. And they're like, man, you kind of missed out on it. And I was like, not really, because the reason I brought this team there was I stepped in there during the haunt season when in October last year, and it's a warehouse that's concrete ground, and so it's a slab foundation, which means there's no vibrations like from pier and beams where you can feel people walking and the creaking of the floor and everything because there's nothing underneath it. I could feel footsteps. Like somebody was walking so hard on this concrete that I could feel the vibration of each footstep, which concrete does not transmit. There should have been no way I could feel footprints. And so that's why I had this team there. And yeah, that was the last investigation that I've done, my most recent.
So Eric was asking about your very first paranormal experience. Was that when you were 2 years old?
It was when I was two. I found out through a course of my life that, yeah, that was my very first, but it was probably close to 10 years ago was my first with the paranormal team. So actively aware of the paranormal. So is he wanting to know when my first known paranormal experience was, or when my first experience that I later found out was paranormal?
Do you want to tell us a bit about it? Have you already shared it?
Well, I can give you synopsis versions. So, my first paranormal experience, knowing that I was going into the paranormal, was this house that people live in a town nearby me, Victoria Black Swan Inn. and the Second Texas Revolution had a battle there beforehand, and so that was history I had no idea about. So that was cool to learn. And I went into a psychomantium there and had a little bit of an experience, but the fun of that night was there was clouds coming in, and so the owners were like, "Oh, as long as you stay on the bottom floor, we'll let you stay in the house because normally you're supposed to sleep outside in these little cabin areas that are like open face tents." But they were like, "There's a storm coming," so three of us decided to stay in the house and some others stayed outside. Well, towards, I guess, the middle of the morning, wee hours, the rain got so strong and the wind that it blew doors open, and it was raining inside the house. Like somebody was that was laying close to the door was like, "I'm getting wet." And so we're like, "What?" And so we quickly got the doors closed. And it was like, it was just so eerie that it's like, to have the doors blow open by wind and the rain coming at a perfect slant to come inside the house. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily paranormal, but it was a cool experience to have. And that was my first with a team. But my first experience when I was two was I was living in a two-story home in Illinois, and it had a basement, and the basement's concrete, and I'm on the second story, and my mom had put plywood over a vent opening. Well, someone or something moved the plywood, and so I'm standing as a 2-year old in winter garb, so you can imagine 1980, we looked like little stars walking around in those heavy wood, warm clothing type winter gear. And I look over and something pulls me in by grabbing me. And I fall down this shaft and I hit the concrete, but I get up with no broken bones, no bruises, no nothing. And in the process of falling down, another white being took me from the being that pulled me in. And I had a conversation with this being about what I was going to do, how it was going to unfold, how my abilities were going to wake up, and then hit the ground. And that's when I came to and was like, just got up and walked away. And so the only thing that I had that marks what's going on was my eyebrow got nicked by a wire. And so that was like the spirit's way of triggering my memory later on that this experience happened. And what's interesting about the experience is I had no idea when I was, having this experience recall, I could understand the being and have this conversation with total understanding. And I feel it's because it was telepathic. And so, yeah. And so I'm kind of wishing I could see the chat right now so I could answer more questions and go, but let's see. What can I? Oh, she's back. Okay. Whew.
It's okay. I saw you. I felt like I could hear you slowing down then. Okay, is there any questions for Michael? Please pop them in the chat. The chat is absolutely on fire today. It is on fire. There is so much good stuff in the chat, and that's why you see me looking down a lot, because I've got it on my laptop. And so they're talking about loads of different movies and just so much, so much. So let's see. And there's even Polish going on in the chat. There's like Polish conversations going on, which is so awesome. Okay. So if anyone's got a question, please pop it in the chat now for Michael or myself. There was a question before about the difference between the void and dark bliss. The void is a place, it's a primordial place at the end of the universe, basically, where life is formed. And there's it's like that for me, it's that point where light and dark meets. So I'm a golden dragon who holds that line. So that's what I remember about the void. It's not that I'm deleting the chat, Jason. I was only deleting the one with that particular P word in. That's all. I wasn't deleting chat. I was only deleting that conversation about the P word, because we're PG-13 on this channel. Pretty much, because I do get people occasionally who are under 18. Although we do, we have a lot of good content, but you don't really hear me swear or anything. I really try not to. And I swear a lot. I do swear a lot in my everyday.
Yeah. Here's an anomaly that's on our planet that to me is fascinating, but I don't think a lot of people pay attention to, is when in school we're taught like when water mixes, it becomes one massive puddle. But where the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean meets, there is a line visibly where you can see which side is the Pacific and which side is the Atlantic. It's two different colors and they do not mix. So, how is it possible with nothing actually physically there? Do we have these two major forms of water butting up to each other and just not mix? To me, yeah, one is salt and one is fresh, but you would think it would be like this muddy mix, but no, it's a straight line almost where you can see a distinct quadrant of fresh and a quadrant of salt. And so I always found that interesting because to me that defies science and it shouldn't be that look like that. And so what is
How
there?
can we be made of water, yet there's salt water that we cannot consume? Does that make any sense? I know I'm not the smartest person with some things, but it just doesn't make sense to me. We're a water planet, but we can't drink that water. It doesn't make any
It's
sense. I know we're not from here, for sure. What do you think?
it's the chemicals that are put in the salt. It's not real salt. And
Yeah.
there's so many chemicals that have been put in the oceans to where it's not natural, and so that's why we can't drink it. And fun fact of every, of life is I can go into fresh water and I can breathe in and out the water and get the oxygen out of the water. And so I can stay under a little bit longer probably than most people when I was actively swimming, which has been a while. But salt water, if I breathed in salt water, I get very sick. And so I do not get in the oceans very often because I cannot stand salt water.
Yeah, there's a comment by Eric, and he says, "I've lived many horror movies in life, so not really into watching when I live many. In life, cannot fear this issue. Learn to deal with them and not watch them on the tube." This is exactly how I feel. So I've never been drawn to horror movies because at the back of my mind is all the horrors of the things that we went through when we went through training in the programs. But so for me, and I only want to talk about it briefly, the Freddy series still replays in my mind. And so I was like maybe 15, but at that same time, the parallel versions of me were going through martial arts training and, you know, being pitted against my dyad and things like that. As those watching those Freddy movies, where it's all basically about the programs, and somebody at some point should request, if they haven't already, Nightmare on Elm Street, to get John Whitberg to review it on his channel for $10. He'll do that review. Not that I can watch that because he reviewed The Shining, and I was able to watch it because he's just putting clips in, but I did have to cover the screen on two things. So yeah, so my mind and my body knows that I've been through horrific things, even if I don't remember them. So I don't want to bring up Freddy very briefly because it freaks me out. Yeah. So did you watch those movies?
I did, and did you know The Shining had a second movie?
No, I didn't know that. John, did you know
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it was called Doctor Sleep or something.
Oh,
It was all about the kid who leaves The Shining at the end, returns as an adult.
right.
But, talking about horror movies, I actually don't watch horror movies because I end up laughing through them because
I
to
wish.
me, they are like comedy because I'm looking and going, you are so stupid. This is why you're going to die
Okay,
because you're.
the worst movie ever. That I was a teenager and my brother rented this movie, and it was called The Leprechaun. Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
familiar? It terrorized me. That movie terrorized me. And I don't know if it's because I have a connection to cryptids that I haven't fully realized and that I've seen these things. I don't know, but that movie freaked me out so bad. I definitely had nightmares about that movie. If anyone else has watched The Leprechaun, pop it in the chat because that is one of the worst movies ever. Have you seen it? Did you get a
I
reaction?
have. And there's actually a television
Ugh,
series that's a little bit worse than that
what?
that I watched as a kid because my eldest sister would watch it, and it was called V.
Oh yeah,
And
V. I wouldn't compare that to the Leprechaun movie though. But V is a classic, absolute classic, fantastic show.
well, the reason I say is worse is because they would peel their skin and there would be lizards underneath, and they're eating the humans and they're eating other animals. And so it was like I was exposed to reptilians as a kid and watching, this, and it was like, to me, I was like, that was more scary and more like creepy factor to me than Leprechaun because I think Leprechaun, I was like, yeah, it's a fae and you don't piss off the fae. I knew that. I had that knowledge coming in and going, yeah, this is what happens when you make them mad. And, you were warned, you did it anyway. So, yeah, you got your just deserves. So that's how I view kind of some of these horror movies is I'm like, you were warned, you got stupid, you got what you deserved.
Yeah, I think now I'd have a different perspective. I've avoided watching scary movies for a long time because I'm on this journey of remembrance of trying to figure out why does my body react certain ways to certain things or certain words or whatever. Danny's saying Leprechaun also was a scary movie for her as well. They're talking a lot about James Bond in the chat now. Um, so and they're talking about V as well. Hostel was a
James,
was a scary movie. Hostel, have you seen that movie? The one with the apple. They put apples in the chat. Have you seen Hostel?
I
When
don't know that
they
I've
go
seen
to
Hostel,
they go
but
to a motel, but in the, when they put the videos in the player, it's people being killed in that motel room. Oh my god, it is bad. Was it Kate Beckinsale in it? I'm not too sure. But
I
that was a
might
bad.
have seen bits and pieces of it because sometimes I'll watch like stuff on Stars or Amazon and it's already in, and so I'll watch it and then I'll be like, and turn it off if it doesn't really catch my attention. Although I will say one thing, there was one movie, the first one I would say probably did scare me a little bit. but they've made so many movies, it's kind of dumbed it down a bit. And that was Tremors.
You know what? I'm not even sure I fully watched Tremors. Jason's saying I'm talking about No Vacancy. Yes, I am. I'm talking about No Vacancy. Tremors. Tell us more about Tremors because I don't think I've watched the whole thing.
Tremors were these carnivorous worms that would burrow through the ground and would eat anything that walked on the ground above. And the only way to survive would be is to be on like concrete building tops. And you had to get to vehicles, but you had to walk on the ground, and so you had to evade these worms. And to me, it was kind of like they took the worms of Dune and put them on Earth, and they made them much more ugly and smaller and deadlier than Dune. Because Dune's worms, I was okay with those. But Tremors, the first one, I was like, when they started going up and someone would just get sucked down in the ground, I was like, oh, that's not cool.
So they're dropping movies in the chat. Talking about 1408. I've watched that movie. That was messed up. And then Jason is saying 2408 had actual paranormal activity on set. And one is captured in the scene. So have you seen any of those? Talking about a
You know,
movie called Sybil as well, where she had altars. I've not seen that. Uh,
I will say, of movies that had a ghost, the Three Men and a Baby
oh yeah, in the
was
window, in the window. Oh my
it
God.
was like
Like, that was probably the very first paranormal thing that I tried to see, and I slowed it down, tried to like, really see if it was just a cardboard cutout, but that was a ghost, right?
it
You talking about
was.
the boy in the window? Yeah, for sure.
And the amazing thing about it is, how it wasn't for like a year or two after that movie was out that somebody even found it. And it's like now that you've seen it, you can't
Yes.
unsee it.
Yeah.
But you think how many times did you watch it and you never saw it? So how many movies are out there where they actually do have ghosts in them, but
Mm.
we don't see them because we don't know they're there?
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about orbs? Because on my morning lives, we start off when it's dark and there's orbs flying around, and we've actually got like a resident orb that gets captured on the videos. So what do you think they are? Are they ghosts? Are they fairies?
So they're orbs, I will say I will be diplomatic with my answer. Orbs can be spirits, beings, energy that's here to make itself aware, and it'll move in a way that's just completely unnatural. Some orbs can be dust or debris that's been picked up in the air and it's just going through. But what I find interesting is, when you zoom in on the orb, if there is sacred geometry or a number or a face, to me, that does not happen in dust. So that is an orb, and they have different colors and they move around slightly different. And so I had an experience to where I was watching an orb and it was going like this on a screen and then it just blitzed over. I was like, that's not dust. Dust would not, fall to a certain height and then just move lightning fast.
Yeah, I've got so I cut the shorts of it as well. There's one that seems to appear from like my head or something, and then kind of go around, and then it comes back this way, and then that way. So it's like it's moving like on its own thing. It's going around, but it's
Well,
definitely
that
an orb.
explains
It's
a
been
lot.
captured a few times. Yeah. Well, the orb comes out my head. My head's
Oh,
just
I was teasing you saying that explains a lot.
So yeah, the two about ball lightning has consciousness. Island of Dr. Moreau, All Lightning Has Consciousness. So talking about plasma orbs. So yeah, there's such good chat going on today.
Yeah.
Okay, final questions for Michael. If anyone's got a final question, pop it in the chat right now. So we're going for over 2 hours. And we could literally do 4 hours probably. Just going off on random tangents. Blue says that they photographed some orbs years ago on an old digital camera that had a subdivided cube in them. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So we'll just
Isn't there
see.
a horror movie about a cube?
Yes, that's Hellraiser. I think somebody's probably going to put in a request for Hellraiser for John Whitberg to review. That is, I actually went to the cinema and I remember I was kind of sitting step back and there was like a big aisle in between. I remember watching that movie. The Ring is another one that I've seen at cinema. I've got the same kind of visual. I don't know how I got through the movie. I think I must have altered out because I have no idea how I got through that movie. I don't remember most of the movie. So yeah, but Hellraiser, I know somebody from the programs who looks like one of the characters kind of things in that movie when they're off planet. That's how they actually look. Talking about the Burbs, Hellraiser, yep. Yeah, it's definitely not one that I want to rewatch. I'll watch the scary stuff. If John Whitberg does a review on them, then I'll watch the review. I'm not going to rewatch the movies, but I'll watch the review. That's about it, just to support my friend and his work, which is good work, because it makes us think about these things. So that last one about Blade Runner got me thinking about the roles that we have as alters, because that is something I'm looking into. Because I've got at least 30
Mhm.
alters that I connect with these days. Some have integrated, and some I can connect with off planet telepathically. Missing Time 420 is talking about the Blob. And what's funny about the Blob is, unrelated kind of, is that we've been working with the Japanese deck called the Yokai, the Kami, and there's this smelly, fishy blob monster, right? But it's this big, huge blob that smells, it's disgusting, but it actually holds the secret of eternal life. And if you were to get close enough to eat some of it, you would be immortal. But nobody's ever going to get that close because it's this smelly blob monster. So yeah, we were working with the Japanese deck for a while, and it's all like really spooky ghost spirits, Kami the gods, and so yeah, so the yokai is such a good deck to work with. Um, okay, so
Gremlins.
Gremlins is a classic Christmas movie. It's a
I
classic Christmas
I
movie, yeah.
I remember watching Gremlins, and when they would transform, I could not watch that. I would have to put my
Yes,
head into a pillow because I was like, nope, I
yeah.
just don't want to watch that.
I can watch it, but it's the kitchen, the blender scene just popped into my mind, like kitchen stuff that freaks me out. Um, yeah, it's that I've got the image of that spiky looking one in my face now. Thanks. So, but yeah, Gremlins is a good classic Christmas movie, which makes me think about Die Hard because that's a Christmas movie and that's quite controversial. So,
I
and
know.
is it a
Just
Christmas
because it
movie?
takes place over Christmas, everybody says it's a Christmas movie.
Yes, it is, because it's a Christmas tree present. So therefore it makes it a Christmas movie that you need to watch every time. The orbs are orbital around Julia's head. Orbs do what orbs are meant to do, says Eric. But they look like one like as if it flew out of my temple. Or it was just in my hair.
Yeah.
Now dust is flying out now. But but that was it's captured because when you do live video, you do it on your in the portrait, you do the long form video. There's a little button that you can cut that says short on it. So every now and then I just click a little short, and it or some of them are automatic, but it captured 3 videos with the orbs in, right, which was just amazing. Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. Batman Returns is classic. Love it.
Yeah.
And
It's a
but yeah,
Wonderful Life is a paranormal Christmas movie.
I wouldn't think of it as paranormal apart from the angel thing. Why do you think of that more as paranormal? Tell me.
Well, he is taken out of existence, and so he is shown a world where he didn't exist. And so to me, that falls in the realm of paranormal because it's another one of those time manipulation movies of an angel has the ability to erase you from history and show you what life was like without you and with you. and then you get to choose which timeline you want. And so that to me is a paranormal disclosure movie. Never thought about it till about disclosure until I realized, yeah, there's two alternate timelines running.
So they're asking, have you seen Project Hail Mary yet?
I have not.
Yeah, I keep trying to time it out. I keep trying to say I'm going to go and see it, but then it's always at a time when I've got something else kind of bumping in. But I really want to see it because a few of my friends have seen it and they really enjoyed it. I'm just going to check the movie times actually while I'm thinking about it. So my mind is so freaking random.
But
It'll be gone if I don't.
a
Um,
fun fact that I've been talking with some other people about is for those people who like the Stargate series, Amazon is launching, I believe in 2028, a brand new Stargate series. They're bringing it back, but they're not remaking it. It's going to be its own series. And so I'm really interested to see what disclosure they're going to be bringing into that series, especially being run by Amazon.
yeah, so I love all the Stargate series. I've pretty much seen absolutely everything I think available. I
Did you
love
see
it.
the cartoon?
No, there's a
Ah,
cartoon. Oh my
there
God.
is Stargate Infinity.
Oh, Infinity on a Cartoon. Oh, so good. Yeah, so there's a showing at 1:45 today. I might actually go and see Project Hail Mary today, guys. I'm going to do it. Still sent me money to buy my ticket. It's all been fully funded, so I can come back and talk about it, and which I appreciate. Thank you so much. So I'm going to go and see that this afternoon, I think. But yeah, I love anything to do with Stargates. For me, the Stargate original movie was a massive activation, because of course I have that Celtic DNA. I've got that Tuatha De Danann DNA to allow me to open up portals and tune into sacred sites and artifacts on the planet. I can do that. So I can't wait to see the new series and see what they're going to do. There's a version of me that works at Cheyenne Mountain with the Stargates over there. Spider saying I now banish Gene Roddenberry. I think it's something to do with there's a bit of grooming going on that they were talking about earlier. It doesn't change the work. For me, I still think Star Trek is good work. I do. I think it was, I grew up with it, you see. My brother's 12 years older than me, and I literally grew up watching Star Trek. So for me, that is what the future should look like. There's the principles that I live my life by, that kind of
Well,
thing.
what I think they're talking about is Academy was woke, and nobody liked how they were making it woke because that's not the Star Trek future that we're wanting,
Yeah.
and it just didn't work. And if I would tell people, I'm enjoying watching Academy, but I don't focus on the woke aspect. I focus on what the Star Trek universe aspect is, and in doing that, I could, find a lot of stuff good about it, but yeah, I was like, didn't really care so much about how, like a gay Klingon. I'm like, okay, why? What's the point? And, the interesting thing though was Sam, a cybernetic hologram who is given sentient life and experienced a childhood to keep herself intact. And the doctor steps up and becomes dad. And I was like, that's a pretty cool storyline. And that was pretty cool. And it
I
sort
do
of
love the
played,
Doctor because I love Voyager so
oh, yeah,
much. Yeah. But at one point, he was almost called Dr. Picardo because I had a
yeah.
poster and he was called Dr. Picardo on the poster. Mm. Yeah, I think
That,
the
that's
poster
actually his
came with a
last
video.
name.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
his real last name is Picardo.
yeah. So yeah, mad. Okay, so they're talking about The Expanse. The Expanse is a slow show. I found that as well. I found it really slow to watch.
I actually like The Expanse.
Yeah. But I mean, there's so much good stuff that's all disclosure, it's all activating. Primarily these days, I'm looking for things that are, because my brain has changed in the last 2 years. So now I've got my SSP mind, which is almost active. And so when I watch things, I'm starting to get recall or associations. And so I have a very different experience. So I need to go back and rewatch everything basically
Yeah.
from this new analytical mind,
And
because I've got alters who are scientists. I'm dissecting things in a much different way to what I would have before. Yeah.
it's interesting how Star Wars went woke and didn't survive, and Star Trek went woke, didn't survive. Disney went woke and is losing money left and right. And so everything that fell into that trap is like, yeah, not working. And I personally, I'm glad because I miss the days of you watch shows and everything was in there. It wasn't fragrantly like pointed out and like made over the top. And so I feel like anything that is being done that's over the top is because nobody else believes it, but they're forcing you to believe it so that they can say, yes, this is what the people wanted. And they don't. Nobody wants to be forced anything. And so all those shows that like have that in it are getting canceled left and right. And why is it? Because everybody wants actual television, not agendas that people are just trying to shove down and make you believe. And I kind of wish like Star Trek Discovery and they brought it back in Academy for a little bit, but they did more and would show more with that programmable matter. To me, that was like really cool tech that they really could have done a lot more to, talk about and showcase, but they really didn't. It was like, huh, they mention it and then it's done.
So there's a bit of debate going on in the chat, and yes, I'm shouting at John Whitberg in the chat because he said that Star Wars and Star Trek was shit. Right? And so I'm saying, like, what? And then Vicky Binky's now saying that she never liked Star Trek, but I forgive you, Vicky, because I don't know you personally. So, but John, we're gonna have words, and because he's saying "see you in court," so it's quite funny. Um, so I was raised on Star Trek. I love Star Trek. Star Wars, I couldn't really get into because I think it's because of the history of what went on there. Um, but yeah, we agree to disagree with a lot of people on certain things. I will try and take the high road and agree to disagree. And so there was a question for you: is what's your favorite superhero? And do you see yourself? You know how a lot of us are represented. Do you see yourself as a superhero also?
Well, funny story. My favorite superhero happens to be an ancestor of mine, and that is Thor. And I love the story of his being, not only the protector of Earth, but his hammer, that Molinar that he uses, only is able to be used and wielded by worthy. And if you start to use it out of its intention and take advantage of it, it stops working. You can't lift it up. It's like it's a sentient being of itself. And it kind of reminds me of Excalibur. And so I always find it really interesting. And I have akin to electricity to where I've had electric current run through my body and I was totally fine. Not an experience I want to repeat though, but So that would be my favorite superhero. My second favorite superhero actually is from the same genre. I kind of like the Marvels better, and that is Gambit because he's like this cocky, wild, but he's got the psionic cards that explode, and I just think it's really cool that he can charge playing cards and turn an ordinary object into an explosive energy. And I'm like, and he's just has this southern charismatic, like, I will be charming to a fault, but you're going down. It doesn't take kindly to being messed with. Now, do I think I'm a superhero? Well,
Think that there's one that's based on your kind of knowing your skills, your traits from the
oh,
programs, that kind of one. It's like with me. So there's the there's a few actually, but we'll stick with like number seven or whatever. Superhero wise, Hel from the Thor movies. I do embody Hel, the goddess from Helheim. So she's represented. They've misrepresented her slightly because she's actually Loki's daughter, not Odin's daughter. So they didn't fully represent that. But there's a few others that I could say, yeah, I gel with that. You
yeah.
know, like the Scarlet Witch or whatever. I could definitely gel the Scarlet Witch for sure. So yeah.
I
So who
would,
do you think?
yeah. I would say if I was to say is modeled after me, I would say because of who I am and what I know I am, I would say Hercules is close, being the demigod.
Hercules, played by Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah,
I love Hercules. Yeah, go on.
I mean, and I actually would find myself at times where it's like I was needing to do a task and I just didn't have enough energy to do it. It's like I would hear myself and feel myself call to Hercules, and it's like I could get that little extra energy and accomplish the task. And so I was like, so I would say, yeah, there's, a kinship to
Hmm.
that because you're learning to use your strength and everything in a positive way
Hmm.
to help people.
Hmm.
Let's see, is there another one? Hmm. Well, I don't know that this one would be based on me, but it is a past life of mine, and that is one of the Knights of the Round Table,
Hmm. Yeah.
and actually being related to the Round Table. And,
So which knight are you? Because I'm also a knight of the Round Table.
I don't know that I actually ever got the chance to join the table because I was the son of Arthur and Guinevere. And so I never
What's the
actually,
name? Do you remember the name?
I, you know, I have to really think about it. I don't know that I had never really asked the name, but I was trained by Merlin. It's similar upbringing as Arthur. And I know I'm not Mordred because that was his sister and done through dark magic. I wasn't born that way. I was definitely between the two, and the whole Lancelot and Guinevere.
Yeah. So there's a couple of names that come up when I Google this, and there's one that I'm drawn to for you. But I'm going to say a few different names, right? One is Amhar. One's Laku or Klaku, Kleku. Okay, one is Kidduan, Kidfin. One is Guerda, and the last one is Durin.
Guerda sounds
Guerda.
familiar.
Because I'm thinking Durin for you, Duran, but Guerda, Gwydre. So Gwydion and Durran, that's what comes up when you do a random search. I'm Galahad, son of Lancelot. Okay, so Galahad, the knight, allegedly. So, but I'm also Tutankhamun, so who knows?
Yeah.
King Tut, so there's a few different weird things there. But I was also trained as Merlin. So if you're trained as Merlin, then you are a Merlin. So you have that ability to embody Merlin energies. Yeah, so I have memories.
Yeah.
I've
But
got
to
a few
me,
memories of being Galahad. Yeah.
yeah, the whole Lancelot stealing away the queen and bringing down Camelot never happened in my timeline. That was a myth, I think. That
I know John Whitberg mentions in his books, I think, about Caldel Show going back into Arthurian times. So that's quite interesting. Was it in the book, John? I can't remember now. But I only have a few memories of being with Merlin. Merlin's one of my active guides. Merlin's the first guide that ever came to me. I got an activation off the Sword and the Stone cartoon movie. When I was at the cinema, I literally had an activation. Then Merlin came in as like a granddad to train me, to kind of help me remember my training.
I kind of like
So,
the Sam Neill Merlin, where
oh, I need to rewatch. Did you watch the BBC TV show, Merlin?
I did.
That's a good show, right?
I did. I liked it. He kind of had Merlin as this broody kid and trying to figure out because he was told not to use and now he has to use. The only issue I had with that was the dragon being chained and under the castle. I was like,
Yeah.
that wasn't cool.
Well, that was the whole point of what happened to us dragons. We did either get killed off or we got harnessed, for our powers. Um, yeah, so not good. But I'm Golden Dragon Soul Energy. So do you resonate as a dragon? Have we spoken about that before?
I do, and I've had dragons
Are you
around
Black
me.
Dragon?
I don't know that I'm black. I kind of think more of like purplish. I
Okay,
guess it could
interesting.
be black.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Because there's a lot of black dragons that we connect with in the community for some reason. So another person I know who's black and gold, and but my dragon family are a lot of black and gold dragons. So yeah, and I've connected with three or four people. We're all from the same dragon soul family, which is quite interesting. Okay, so we're finishing off. We're finishing off because I don't want to tire you out too much because we've been going for a really long time. Oh my god, I could talk to you forever. I really could. And the chat is on fire today. So thank you to everybody, in the Anchor Haven crew who is like on it in the chat. Is literally on fire. So it's so cool. What are you working on at the moment? Is there anything that you'd like to promote before we finish?
Um, I'm working on podcast shows, and I do have in the works. I haven't finished, and I haven't started one, but I have the theory down for the next two books in the Deeper Insights trilogy. And beyond the trilogy, I've been told I should write a screenplay, but I feel like I'm going to write a few books before that. And I might break off from doing the series and the trilogy to doing individual books now. I don't know.
How do you
It's
stay motivated? Because I'm working on a few projects and I really struggle to stay motivated.
so when I get to writing, I write a table of contents of topics that I want to include in the book, and then I just start writing. And when I'm really in tune with what the book is about, it just flows out. But when it's something that I kind of interested in, but not really interested in, I kind of write here and there. And right now, I planned on at this point being on book three of the trilogy, but I had to stop writing the first of the two books remaining because one, I just wasn't feeling the topic truly at the moment, and I had a family emergency come up, and so I've been dealing with that. So a lot of things have been kind of put on the hiatus for a little bit, but I know when the time is right and when I have the time, I'll sit down and be able to create the next two books. And I will say both books deal with a topic that, from a lot of people I've been talking to, are topics that are not generally talked about in a certain way. And so that's what I'm bringing to the table, is sharing them in a certain way. And I'm also looking at what can I add to it, because if I write just a book on one topic, I find it gets kind of wordy, and I'm too going to be probably too repetitive because there's a page requirement for certain things, like it has to be 24 pages for paperback, 80 pages, I think, or 75 pages for hardcover. And so, since I do all three versions, the Kindle, it doesn't matter. But because I do all three, I don't want to have to expand on one version to make the hard copy. So instead, I'm looking to what topics synchronistically go together, and we'll create a fluid book of different insights. And I I'm trying my best not to repeat from The Awakening into these books. I'm trying to keep everything fresh and new. So that takes a little bit too, is finding a fluid story that gels, and the time to put it to the computer and then have someone to edit it and then decide how I'm going to do the cover. Because the deeper insights, I did the first cover, and it was kind of interesting
Have
making
you,
it.
we both use Canva. Have you tried the Magic Maker on Canva?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm getting quite good at the Magic Maker now, putting in the right things to try and get what I want. And it gives you four options or whatever. So it's a good AI tool. And then I take that and then I use the elements in Canva to put in additional things. And yeah, like, or you can use the edit on there to change like the coloring slightly on things. And so I'm quite handy with that now. Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
question in the chat about how do you protect yourself. There's also a question about because Danny is in Texas and she's wondering about do you do any investigations that she could be part of?
Well, that depends on what area of Texas, because we Texans can tell you we are not close. We look close on a map, but we are not. Like,
I know like five people, and you guys are all splattered out across Texas, right? You really are. I know more people in Texas than I do in anywhere else in America right now.
so yeah, and Texas is so large that if I was to drive to the panhandle from my house, that's a 6.5 hour drive. If I was to drive to Mexico to the south, that's a 7, 8 hour drive.
Oh, well, Danny's in the southeast.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so the east for me is like 3.5 hours to Louisiana, and I believe it's 7 hours to El Paso from my house, which is the far left. So basically, if I go south to Mexico, west, or far north through the Panhandle, I need 2 days to get out of Texas, because I don't drive many hours unless I have
Takes you
to.
2 days to get out of Texas. Jesus. It's for me it would be say a 4 to 5 hour drive to London, right? So that's like from the northwest to the southeast there. So
Yeah.
wow. Hmm.
Well, the other way to look at it, Julia, is we can take probably, I believe it's like 6 or 7 UKs and still have land left over in Texas. That's how large our state is.
That's mad. Yeah, I know people all over Texas. I'm working on my accent because I say things wrong apparently. So it's something we do in my morning lives is they give me words and I try and say those words. It's really funny. Okay, so if do you know anybody who's in the southeast of Texas that does paranormal investigations that we could hook Danny up with? Some local weirdos is what she's asking for.
Um, I don't know. I do know there's a Paracon coming up. I think this weekend in Mineola, which is east, might be somewhat southeast. Um, yeah, most of the people I know are Austin, San Antonio, which is not the southeast, and so they're more central. So, yeah, I'd have to really look and see, you know, who I know in those areas. But yeah, what was the other question?
Yeah, just local groups that she can connect into. That's
Oh, I
cool.
thought there was another question
Oh, I was
beyond.
about protection. It was about
Oh,
protection. Yeah,
protection. Yeah.
yeah.
Funny that I forgot that one. Um, so I do energy around me and I have energy shields that are f- always activated. And I have a quince seed, which is a little seed in resin that Italian nuns have blessed and put in resin and sets the intention of a 3 foot arc completely around to where anything that is attached to me when I put it on is stuck with me. It cannot leave. And the opposite is anything that wants to attach to me cannot attach to me while I have it on. So that's mainly the protection I have.
Getting my Rudraksha beads now.
I have those beads
Do
actually.
you? Yes, putting them on now because I know something's going to happen after this show. Because the last time we did the paranormal show, at least 5 of us had some weird occurrence, some sighting, some feeling, some something. But you know, we focused a lot on movies this time, not so much the creepy dolls and all that weird shit. So, so, oh, this has been so good, Mike. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Um,
Yes.
Sprinkle's got some. I'm not sure where Sprinkle is, but she's got some real paranormal shit going down in her house right now. She felt like there was an entity that came in and took one of the roses, and it would have been right in front of her, and all this kind of stuff. And so that's what they're talking about in the chat right
So
now. Yeah. So
for sprinkles, I will tell you every entity, every spirit, every energy, every being answers to universal law, and you have to own it, and you can't declare it with any doubt in your voice or your intentions. And if you simply say, you are not welcome here, you need to leave, as a declaration with energy behind it, it is contracted and has to leave no matter what. And so that is a way to keep your space clean and clear is to command whatever is not of a certain energy level or consciousness level to leave and not welcome. So you can try that and see if that helps you with calming things down.
She tells them to F off.
That works too.
But yeah, commanding your space, yeah. That's definitely that's what I'm gonna do when we finish, is putting out that I do not consent, you are not welcome. Do not consent to my energy being taken or used or abused in any way. So it's mad. Okay, this is so good. I'm going to end the stream now, but thank you so much for coming on, and we would love to have you back on a regular basis.
Yes.
And
Just
yeah,
let me know when.
yeah, especially about movies. I love that you can just talk about movies. It's such they're saying that you're such a great storyteller, and which I agree. That's so cool. And we've got the conference coming up in June, the Gina Virginia Casella's conference. Are you speaking this time at the online conference?
I am not speaking, but she asked if I would help moderate.
Yeah, that'll be fun because we had a fun time last time, didn't we? So I'm going to be speaking this
Yeah.
time about my journey. So I'm calling it Anchored in Shadow Strength, Whispers of Remembrance, I think I've called it. And I haven't written it yet, but it's about kind of realizing that you're not who you think you are, is basically what my talks are about. I'm going to be talking at Basis Conference as well, in person in June. So, which is the
Uh,
Basis, you can't see, there we go.
I
Um,
will say, Julia, do the video
hmm,
presentation that is going to be played while you're, if you can't make it,
yeah,
do that first because as you have your topic and you're putting that together with slides and images and everything, it'll help you to, when it comes time to present, that you'll have something to fall back on and you can read like a couple of words and be like, oh yeah, that's what this
yeah.
is.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
preparing two presentations that kind of feed off each other. So the first one is going to be at Gina's conference. So that's kind of like the preamble really, which will lead me up to what I'm talking about at the Basis conference. So there, which is about special access programs. So we're kind of leading into it's the same topic just from different perspectives really.
You
So
know
one's like
what you could
foundation.
do?
Yeah,
You could do like an entry level kind of awareness piece,
yeah,
and then the last slide be see me at the basis for
yeah.
the next level of this of this topic
That makes
and kind of
sense.
use it as a stepping stone and be
Yeah.
like, here's the introduction,
Mm,
here's the main
yeah.
piece, and you could do it that way, and then you'll get people that will tune into the bases because they're
Yeah.
like, I want to know how this ends.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so it's going to be like part one, part two.
Yeah,
It's a bit like when Jacob Reed turned up at Basis and said, "This is part three of a bigger presentation." People were like, "What?" Because
yeah.
he's already done two previous conferences, so he sees them all as parts of the same presentation. Yeah, so part one will be an exclusive for Virginia Casella's channel for her conference online, and part two will be at Basis 2026. If I always say if I get to, because Basis conference is really up in the air right now because we don't know if we're going to have guests flying in because of the petrol prices and stuff. I don't have a set guest list that's been sent to me by Miles yet, so I can't make a program. So the program won't be made until June. Yeah, when we lock everybody in, for sure. So I've got no idea yet if I'm speaking, and if I'm speaking, if is it 30 minutes or do I get like 45 to 60 minutes? I've got no idea. So I will be preparing both presentations at the same time. But the exclusive is going to be for Gina's channel for that online one. So getting to hear me talk about super soldier stuff with psionic stuff and relating that back in and breaking it down for people in the simplest way possible, which is what I like to try and do.
Well,
Okay.
and the beauty with Gina is she'll let
Yeah.
you download it and upload it to your stuff. So
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, well, it's the same with trials at bases. So like last time he live streamed on Facebook, and that was, I had no idea, and I was like helping, you know, build the conference in the background, and I had no idea he was going to do that. So then I spent the weekend moderating the Facebook chat in the end, because he didn't want to put it out there in case it didn't work, and he didn't want to charge for it in case it didn't work, right? So but he got it to work. So some lucky people were able to see the full live stream. I've got that video actually. I've got that video, which I haven't released. I think I did release it like for like 5 seconds, and somebody grabbed the link. And so that is actually on my channel of Jago's talk, of Jago talking, because he talks about me like 5 times in the talk, and he gets me on stage towards the end. So, but yeah, so it's all on basestv.org or basesproject.com, I'm not sure. But he's got a member site. Miles has got a members site over there, and it's like £5 a month or something. You get access to his full catalogue of bases videos, which are really good, really in depth. So please support Miles's channel as well. Okay, everybody follow Michael Kopf on his channel, and I think Jason's dropped the link loads of times, and I'll put it down below in a second as well. So it's great to have you on. I'm going to end the live stream now, so thank you so much. But stay with me.